Hi, Tyria, and welcome to the Guild Wars 2 6th anniversary live stream. 6 years. I'm your host, Ruby, and we're going to spend the next couple of hours celebrating the last year of development of Guild Wars 2 with you guys as a community. Whether you, as a player, took your first steps out of your player characters, Racial City, Holbrack, The Grove, Black Citadel, Divinity's Reach, Radasum, whether you took those first steps in August of 2012 or if you took them yesterday, we are really, really grateful that you're a part of our community and that you participate in this world that we built. So thank you for spending this afternoon with us to join in this celebration. And I hope you enjoy the next couple of hours. We're going to be talking to some of the development team that has worked on Guild Wars 2 over the past year, looking back over some of our favorite memories. We're going to hear from members of the Guild Wars 2 Partner Program. We're going to watch some interviews with Guild Wars 2 voice actors and just kind of look back over the past year and enjoy ourselves. We're going to start with the Guild Wars 2 Game Director, Mike Zadrozhna. But first, we're going to take a quick look at a video that some of you may have seen earlier this morning, the Guild Wars 2 6th anniversary video. So sit back and enjoy with us.
Over 6 years ago, we launched Guild Wars 2. It was the start of an epic journey for us as developers and for you, the fans. And together we've seen the community grow and flourish into what it is today. Now we want to take a chance to look back at the journey we've been on, as we've been learning and iterating on how to support and grow this game, and celebrate together what it is to be part of Guild Wars 2. From the very beginning, we knew we wanted to bring Guild Wars 2 to life, continually evolving it through new story content and features. We started with small things that rippled throughout the world, and then we went to Lost Shores. We told a brand new storyline on a brand new map with a brand new feature, the Fractals of the Mists, and it just kept evolving from there.
We were embarking on a journey that nobody else had really tried to take before. To tell these stories that basically are richer and deeper because of the fact that they go on.
It's like watching your favorite television show, except being a part of it.
Over the seasons, Living World has evolved constantly in terms of how we think about what the story is that we're trying to tell.
We had a ton of freedom early on in season 1 to figure out what Living World really was.
We were trying out new ways of telling stories in games, and it took us a while to sort of get a feel for what we could do.
With season 2, we tried out something pretty radically different from season 1. We decided to tell a continuing story that would lead into our first expansion.
And we started to explore new areas, like the Dry Top and the Silver Wastes.
With season 3, we tried to develop a bit of a formula for what each episode was going to be, creating a process that would allow us to release big, meaty story updates, and then also start layering in some of the content that happens in between episodes.
Things like new rewards, new masteries, new raids and fractals.
New ways for players to explore, to discover, and to be a part of this evolving world.
With season 4, we wanted to push the boundaries a little bit and see how big our story could get.
We wanted to really show players what we could do with this kind of storytelling.
Bigger adventures, more exciting foes, and a more epic storyline. Living World just isn't about content, it's also about features.
Living World provides us the opportunity to tell a larger story across multiple episodes in a way that dovetails with other things about the game, features and mounts, to all sort of integrate and support each other.
With Living World, we like to provide something for all of our players. So with each release, we make sure to include updates to our story, but we also have a lot of other content types that we add, like raids and fractals, and new legendary weapons, and new festivals, and the current events that come out in between. They're all part of the Living World.
Festivals are great because it's smaller bite-sized content that we can give players something to do during episodes. We have festivals like Winter's Day, the Festival of the Four Winds, and Halloween.
They all show the status of the world and show the way that it's moving forward.
Looking towards the future, we're excited to keep delivering on the promise of free, engaging episodic content in Guild Wars 2. You can expect more great things from us as we move directly from Season 4 into Season 5.
This means more engaging stories that expand the world of Tyria, new maps to dive into and explore, and more gameplay features that change the way the game is experienced. We've already introduced the roller beetle mount in Episode 3, added a new raid, fractals, and more, and we're going to continue this season's story and add new feature content in the coming months. We've got another raid, a new fractal, and one of my favorite features of the season, Sun's Refuge. It's a personal character instance in a familiar and historic location that goes all the way back to the original Guild Wars. You'll be able to rebuild the settlement with opportunities to unlock NPCs, collections, and rewards.
And all of this without a monthly subscription fee. The remainder of this season is going to be one heck of a ride.
We've really got this hurtling cannonball of a story that is so powerful that it needs to keep going.
The most epic stuff we've ever done for Living World is coming in Season 4.
We're pushing the limits of what the game can do and what we can do with the story. And we're excited to see this pay off in cool ways for you, the players. And to keep the story going into the future with Season 5.
Wow, congratulations. That
Thank
is
you.
a lot.
Yeah, it has been quite the ride. It's hard to think about that it's been 6 years since we started on this journey, and there was another 4 or 5 years before that in terms of development. This franchise, the legacy of everything that we're doing is just it's exciting to be a part of. The passion that you see around the studio, internally we're celebrating, and just really happy that we've had a chance to kind of share this journey with the players, because at the end of the day, like, we couldn't do this without our fans. And to see how welcoming they are to each other, how kind they are to new players, to us as long-term developers, is phenomenal. So yeah, I love hearing all the personal stories that we get from this in terms of what the game has meant to players. And it inspires me to push harder on terms of what we can deliver, because it's just, again, we can't do this without the fandom that has generated around this game. And I really feel like the community that we have built, or that we laid the foundation for, is just one that I am just blessed to be a part of, because this group is just so much fun. And I hope we get to come back and do this for years to come, because this is great. This is what I live for. And to kind of see where we go and what happens next is just going to be one hell of a ride.
Yeah, it is something that I wanted to touch on. You mentioned seeing the community support each other, which is absolutely one of my favorite things and makes me so happy. You and I and a couple of our developers, Clayton and Byron, were running around Gamescom last week, and first of all, it already feels like so long ago.
Right.
But we were talking with members of the community on the show floor, and I remember there was one, it was a group of 3, and they were all guildmates that we were chatting with, and they have been planning getting together since this last spring, and it was all like this big road trip that one of them organized, and this was their in-person meetup, because they are such good friends, and they've known each other in game for so long, and Gamescom was their time to get together, because this friendship has transferred into the real world. And there were a lot of things that they told me, and I don't want to go into them too deeply, but there's a lot of real world support that they give one another.
Absolutely, and it's great, because every year that we go to, whether it's Gamecoms, PAX, Paris Games Week, any of these conventions, or even the smaller ones that we attend, whether officially or unofficially, it's always nice to see the same faces coming back, and they're always bringing new friends. It's always about, hey, look, I met somebody else now, and this is kind of the friendship that we've developed. And so, I'm so honored to be a part of this legacy of this game, because I care more about what we've done for the community than anything else. Because again, this is, I look at how my job in terms of what I'm doing for this game as, I will know I have succeeded when people come to me in 5-10 years down the road and talk about what Guild Wars 2 has meant to them. That they remember fondly the events that we were, how we were fighting Palawa Joko, what it meant for the conclusion of Season 4 and kind of the big epic journey that we're going on at the moment. These are the things that I want people to have fond memories of, and about the friendships that they made along the way. And then I will know that everything that I've done here, all of the hard work that the team has done has has paid off and has been worth it.
Yeah, thank you guys, thank all of you for that, because that's why I think everyone in this building does what they do. There was a player who works on one of our fan sites that I was talking to at Gamescom, and the reason we were talking way back in 2008 when I was a brand new player, one of my one of my first Guild Wars friends was someone who met her now husband in Guild Wars. And they're now married with a son, but they founded a fan site that is still going strong to this day. And I was chatting with them at Gamescom, and that's one of those legacies that started in Tyria and lives out 10 years later. And that's exactly why.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're watching the anniversary video, and we're not done. We're not going to go home today and not come back. I'm planning on coming back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have a lot to do.
I think I left the Gamescom community event in Germany last week, and I said, I'm not done yet.
Nope.
Like, there's so much more that we want to do, so many more stories that we want to tell. New fractals, new raids, improvements to PvP, to world versus world. Like, this is a living, breathing game, and the enthusiasm and the passion of the people that walk down these halls is that collectively we have more to give, we have more to show, and our story and our journey with Guild Wars 2 is not done yet.
Yeah. We're going right into season 5. We're still, episode 4 is coming.
Yep.
But we're already looking ahead to the next season.
Absolutely. These are exciting times for us in terms of what we're trying to accomplish with the great strides that we've told in terms of the narrative storytelling, the cinematic storytelling, the overall gameplay design, the features, the systems design. All of us has been working towards building up and being able to accomplish greater tasks and greater feats for what we want for this franchise. A lot of the foundation that we've been laying this year has been getting ready for what comes beyond. So we still have some amazing things sights to see in season 4. Some great climactic fights that we need to overcome as a group. But the anniversary video is more of a promise to our fan base that this is not it. Like, this is we're just laying down the foundation to continue this and go beyond what we've already kind of just been doing already.
Yeah.
So.
And all of you, please keep talking to us. We love hearing from you. We love that feedback. We listen, and we want to know what you love. We want to know what you want more of. We want to know what you think could be improved.
Absolutely. Internally, we are paying attention to all of the communication channels. Whether it's the forums, whether it's Reddit, whether it's messages in game, you'll always find me running off my tag because I want to hear this stuff.
Yes.
Like I said at the beginning, like, this game does not exist without you, the fans, and so your voice matters. And so we do look at the feedback. Obviously, we can't do everything all at once, but we have some internal priorities that we're trying to work through so that we can make sure that we are creating something together with the player base, and it isn't just us kind of just releasing things without a plan or without a purpose.
Yeah. So, we have PAX coming up in just a matter of a few days, and I'm thinking back this time last year, we were gearing up to announce Path of Fire.
Right.
And again, like Gamescom, it seems like it was both 5 minutes ago and forever ago. Before I let you go, what have some of your absolute highlights of the past 12 months been?
Shipping Path of Fire is my number one.
It was amazing.
Yeah, like a lot of the initial planning and what we were trying to accomplish with the mount system, building on top of the masteries, was a huge challenge for us to overcome, and how we were going to use that in the open world. The stories that we were telling, not only on the maps but in the personal story or through the story journal, those were very, very personal moments. Not to use the term over again, but and we also threw some twists in there. Like, I'm not sure everyone saw how the first time you fought Balthazar was going to end, and so that allowed us to kind of lay the foundation of where we were going moving forward. And we made a bunch of decisions on Path of Fire, knowing that Living World was coming on the heels of it. So we knew that we were going to be able to spend more time focusing things on more challenging group content, meta events, those types of things, or map-wide events. And then, some of the stories that we were telling, like just going into episode 1, we had like a fractal, we had the open world story, and the personal story that was taking you through that map, all telling you about the same location in different moments in time, and a key character that was there throughout all of it. So it was a lot of fun to kind of be able to tell those stories in those moments. But I think a lot of the stuff that I'm looking forward to at this point now is like the road ahead. Like I'm super excited, and we're super ambitious in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you all for this past year. Thank you for 6 years of supporting us in Guild Wars 2. And buckle up, because we're not done yet.
Oh, man, right? All right. Well, we're going to let Mike get back to work, and stick around, because earlier this year, we've mentioned it a couple times on Guild Chat, we were down in Burbank recording for Episode 4 and Festival of the Four Winds and Episode 3. It was a pretty long recording session. And something that we did was a series of interviews with the Guild Wars 2 voice actors that happened to be in for recording sessions. So we're going to watch several of those this afternoon, and the first one is coming up right now. So let's hear what Steve Bloom has to say about playing in Guild Wars 2.
Pleasure. You started off on 43 for take 43.
I'm Steve Bloom, and I play Ritlock Brimstone. Char. Ritlock is, he's amazing. He's, I think that besides having a warrior's heart, he has the purity of someone that comes from a place that wouldn't necessarily be as barbaric. And that shows through every now and then. He really cares about the people around him.
The fool is on death's door, and you could have been killed rescuing him.
Favorite thing about Ritlock is actually something I found this morning when I was looking stuff up on Wikipedia. He was sort of the runt of the litter. He was, they called him Runtlock, I guess, when he was training as a young kitty cat. And I was kind of that kid, too, as the smallest and the weakest, and bullied a lot. And having to fight through that emotionally and physically made me a much stronger person as I navigated the world. And I think that that's worked in his favor also. For me, Ritlock's voice has remained the same, pretty much. He is who he is, but I think that just carrying the weight with him that he unleashed Balthazar unwittingly, there's some guilt there, and I think that comes through every now and then, and that wasn't necessarily present in the very beginning. I think he was just trying to figure out his place in his new surroundings, but that guilt, I think, has become a factor for him, and maybe a driving factor for him.
It's true that we're stuck. The bridge towers in front of Joko's fortress make it impossible to approach.
If I was to give Ritlock some advice, I would tell him to let go of the guilt. It's time. He's a good guy. He didn't mean to do it. And so Odin was worth it. It was worth it. I love emotionally difficult scenes. For a large part of my life, I tried to hide vulnerability. I tried to hide emotion. That's kind of what a lot of us are taught in our families. And when I have the opportunity to do that through any character, I relish it. I like to go to the deep, dark places. I love to bring stuff up that's uncomfortable for me. The more uncomfortable, the better. So as long as I don't blow my throat out doing it, I'm willing to go to every emotional depth required for the character. It's actually fun for me. I don't think I know anything about Ritlock that nobody else knows, because you guys know everything about this game. You know everything about our characters. You tell me what my life story is. The only thing that I would say that I do know is that there's this guy who is not necessarily a warrior on a daily basis who is voicing this character for you. So if you've never met me in person, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So take that to the bank.
We'll keep the Awakened off your back. Guaranteed.
So many great moments in voicing Ritlock. It's hard to pick one out. I think the greatest moments for me actually were after the fact, when I go to conventions and I see how Ritlock has affected people out there in the world, because I'm sort of insulated in this little capsule here, this padded room. When we're recording this, we don't know what the response is going to be until we get out there in the world. And people come to me at signings at conventions all across the world with their war bands talking about their experience, and to embody any character that has an afterlife like that and affects people and touches people makes everything worthwhile to me.
Okay, Char! We'll take point! You with me?
And they're like, nah.
We're gonna go get a Starbucks. You tell us when you're done.
10 seconds to curtain! Places for Act 1, please! Places for Act 1! Break a leg, people! It's showtime!
Joko's declared war, and we have to meet him head on.
Guess we're really doing this. I'm equal parts exhilarated and terrified.
Enough waiting! Joko's bored. Let's pick up the pace. Scene.
Hi, and welcome back. All right, let's introduce our next two dev guests. Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matt Pennebaker. I'm the systems design lead on Guild Wars 2.
All right, Alexander.
I'm Alexander Youngblood.
Are you sure?
Game designer. That's who I am today.
Okay, that's what it says. Sometimes he's other people.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't you guys talk a little bit about what you do here at ArenaNet?
I'll let Alex go first because it's a little easier.
Surprise!
Easier. I am a game designer on the current activities team. We had a behind the scenes and we talked about everything we do, but we work on festivals, legendaries. I do the birthday gift. We do little events. Just
all of those things.
All of those things. Yeah. Everything that falls between the cracks comes to us. I've been brought in through several different projects. I helped rebuild Lion's Arch. Actually, one of the first projects I worked on was helping Matt do the item collections. So that was a fun system.
Oh, nice.
And I also helped out Path of Fire with the Underworld, so you guys can either hate or love me for Eater of Souls. I'm sorry.
You hurt my feelings. All right, well, how about you, Matt?
So I'm one of the design leads on Guild Wars 2. So I do things across the whole game. Primarily, I just help set goals and review and jump in on stuff when there's emergency needs for extra hands. But yeah, so more sort of system level things with the game and the department.
Okay.
You're being modest. You've done a lot.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I mean, I'll let you have this, but
Matt's kind of an inspiration to me. He's been a mentor to me throughout my time here. And
now I'm going to feel too awkward to keep talking. So the two of you.
He inspired me because when I first started working here, I would talk about the game, like, oh, this is really cool. And he's like, oh yeah, I worked on that. I was like, oh, this is cool. And he's like, yeah, I did that thing there.
If he gets up and leaves, I'm going to be so angry with you.
What do you like to tell people when they ask what I've worked on? It's usually anything you've loved about the game and anything you've hated about the game. I've probably worked on both of them. So.
Okay. All right, so you mentioned birthday presents. Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
Because this armor set just came out.
Yeah, so this is a big year. Every year we've kind of been upping the stakes a bit. and we knew we wanted to do a really big gift this year. The armor is... We wanted to create sets that would look kind of unique and have lots of metal and look celebratory and almost parade-like. And I think the artists did a great job on them.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of internal talk about that, but in the end, we went with armor set, and it wasn't the only thing. It wasn't just like, all right, here's your armor set, and that's it for the birthday gift.
No, I mean, every year we've been layering on more and more. So, this year you get to pick one of the armors, you get to pick 2 weapons, you get to pick a backpack. Each character gets like a bunch of die kits and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I was super happy with the die. I was super happy with the die kits and the karma.
Yeah.
And yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's an awesome thing to have in there. I spent probably way too much time sitting there going, I don't know. I want them all.
What'd you pick?
I ended up with light.
Okay.
I'm both happy and not happy with my choice because I also went a medium. So
I picked medium.
I should have picked medium.
You should have. You made a mistake.
I know, right?
NG and Ranger, so
but
it was an easy choice for me.
Okay, see, here's the problem. I have 2 mains. It's an elementalist and a thief. There's no good choice here.
Yeah, but they're both very unique because they have, like I was saying, they have lots of armor on them, right?
Give
they have
them both
metal.
to me, Alex. Give me both of them right now. I don't want to wait a year. I want them now. So they're gorgeous, and it's nice having the armor set as a birthday gift. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the only new thing that we had, though. Mm-hmm. So it turns out there's another thing that you worked on, Mr. Modesty. Let's talk a little bit about the novelties wardrobe and what is this and how does it work?
Okay, so for people who haven't been in game yet or who haven't read the blog post or the patch notes, the novelties wardrobe was a place in your hero panel and in your wardrobe to store all sorts of the kind of random bits and bobs we've added over the years. A lot of these started out as hey, can we do this thing? And some designer made it work, and then it became a thing we do in the game, and we kept doing it. Accessing them from your inventory was really sort of cumbersome, and that was the main thing we wanted to solve here, was to just add a little ease of use. And so, we added the wardrobe. There's 4 slots currently. Chairs is the top one. Funny enough, chairs was actually the real motivating factor behind this, which was... probably this has been talked about. Byron added the first chair with one of the raids, which is I never remember the name of it. I call it the Doom Throne.
Doom
was
Throne
the bench of the I can't read the screen from here, of the final judge.
Yes.
And I actually sort of told him if he wanted to add more chairs, we needed a better system than it just sitting in your inventory, and that was the catalyst.
You have to calm down with this.
And so yeah, we have that, and we have musical instruments.
Okay.
This one was really important to me to have its own slot because I think there's a certain very specific player fantasy we want to encourage with I can walk around and pull out my guitar whenever I want. Be that guy at the party.
Don't be that guy. Be that guy.
Look at that guitar.
What the heck? Why not?
That's so cool. It's a really good instrument.
Do you want to give a little background on the
what is this?
on the char bass guitar?
Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
the first thing I came up with for the commerce team when I was an intern on that team.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's the bass guitar.
All right.
The guitar. The chartar.
Is it the guitar or the chartar?
In game, it's the musical bass guitar, but now you know.
But what is it really?
It's supposed to be guitar.
Guitar or chartar?
Guitar.
Okay. I just want this fight to happen. Okay.
I don't have a horse in this race. All right. Next is held items. This is very exclusively bundle items, which is a phrase we use sometimes, but it's not super clear. Which are just, it's a item you hold in your hand. This is primarily kites and balloons, maybe exclusively kites and balloons.
Oh, that one's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
we
that.
added a bunch of really fun ones in Path of Fire.
Let's go back and look at that first one, the big 2 dragon.
Looks familiar.
I'm just frantically hoping that Paul cooperates when I'm like, can we please look at that?
So
what is this?
This came out today. This is what was the name of it? I don't want to get the name. The Dragon Emblem Balloon. So this, players will get a free novelty choice box. Currently, I don't know. I don't know specifics of how the Black Lion trading post works, so I don't know if it's how long that'll be there. But you can get this for free if you log in. If you already picked something else from the box, you can purchase it for gems. But this is what I picked with my box. So.
Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I've been running around on my roller beetle, flying this balloon all day. So.
Have you really?
I mean, not all day.
I chose how to dance.
Only been live for 3 hours.
And we had a naked dance party in LA today. That's pretty awesome.
As you do?
Yeah. So anyone who was there, thank you for that. That was awesome.
Final slot is the toys, which is just kind of
that.
and the rest, I guess is the best way to put it. Things that don't really categorize terribly well. We have travel toys and how to dance.
That guy has too many clothes.
This one didn't go. There's some confusion around this one. Like, it didn't go into held items. This is the bouquet of roses because it has skills and it does other stuff. It's I think it does costume brawl. Like, it's got other functionality, and so we wanted to make sure that was a clear distinction. So.
Okay.
Bobblehead Lab.
Oh my gosh. This might be the best look I've ever had at the Bobblehead Laboratory. I usually just throw it down in a crowd and run away. Okay, so this is just part of your wardrobe now. It's you don't have to do anything.
Right.
It's just there. What do you do? Do you just right-click the things and add to wardrobe like everything else?
Yes, that is correct.
Right.
This account looks like it's already got pretty much everything it has unlocked. But yeah, if you had something in your inventory, just right-click on it. You can unlock a thing. I believe the tooltip on these should all say novelty locked or novelty unlocked, so they are somewhat searchable in your inventory.
But Matt, what about tonics?
I did not see you there.
And again, for people who haven't read the blog post, a question we knew which was going to come up, which is what about all of the transform tonics, of which there are dozens of. Because there are actually over 100 of them, it's taken a little longer to migrate them over to the system and get them thoroughly tested so we don't accidentally break the whole game by shipping something fun. So they're in the works.
You're working
coming
on it.
soon.
Okay.
I don't have a specific estimate, but pretty soon, and shorter than some of our soons. That's for sure.
Shorter than some soons, longer than other soons. But in the meantime, we've got all of this stuff that is now coming out of your inventory and in the wardrobe. And here's a whole lot of free inventory slots that are now available.
I don't know what I'm going to do with my shared inventory anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got 3 free shared inventory.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go. I'll be back in a minute.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Now I'm curious. What's in your shared
Bobblehead Laboratory.
Slot? Okay.
The water balloon. Well, it's important.
Yeah.
For
the Bobblehead Lab and the water balloon thing, I like to run in the middle of a giant crowd. Anywhere I see like a ton of players, I'll just like run over to one side of the crowd, throw down the Bobblehead Lab, run to the other side and throw down the water balloon thing. Geez, what was the other? I'd have to go back. I know there's a third one. I'd have to go back and look at the thing again, and I'm not making Paul like go through everything, but there was another thing in the wardrobe where I looked at it and it like registered in the back of my head. Oh, I've got that in a shared inventory slot, and I'm so excited to have those inventory slots freed up now.
Paul is actually trying to be a little more helpful and professional than I am, but he was showing the so all the slots in the novelties wardrobe can have keybinds associated with them, and so you can set we want to make it work a lot like the mounts button and key binding. So.
Okay, let's talk about that throne a little bit, just real quick, because that looks kind of amazing. And how can I get one?
Well, this is
sorry for putting you on the spot.
That's right. Can you remind me of the name? Like I said, I just don't like to mess up the names. So. Is it Emblazoned Dragon Throne, I believe, right?
Emblazoned Dragon Throne.
It is available right now from the Black Lion Trading Company.
Yay! Can we have Paul sit in it, and that will entertain us while I ask you? I have one more question for you guys. I would love to hear about some of your highlights from the past year of Guild Wars 2 development. What have been some of your favorite things?
I think my favorite is we did this Leyline Anomaly event.
Yeah.
It was this big energy boss that runs
like
around.
Matt immediately starts laughing a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because there was kind of a weird thing that happened with it. After we released that content, people started seeing that anomaly in the world, and we had no idea what was going on with it, but like players were freaking out. So we added like some achievements to say, here, you saw it, good job, and we added a quest that said, you know, you're not seeing it anymore, and the placebo worked. People are no longer seeing it. We still have no idea why that happened, but it did. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but that boss was fun to work on. He's cool.
Was it? How about you, Matt?
So working on the novelties wardrobe was a lot of fun. I actually don't get to work on content much these days, and so this was an opportunity for me to get in and implement some stuff again, which was really fun.
That's awesome.
But beyond the thing we just talked about for 20 minutes, I would have to say working on the roller beetle.
Yes.
I worked with Joel a lot on sort of, how do we make it feel as good as possible with breaking as little of the game as possible? Turns out we didn't iron all of that out, but players may have noticed there's some world outs you can do with the roller beetle. Surprise, surprise.
Well, this is my stunned face.
Yeah. I had never really worked with Joel before, and I think fans of this stream know Joel pretty well at this point. And he's just he's super bright and super fun to work with, and super sassy. But
yes, once you get Joel talking about something he's passionate about, I just want to sit there and be like, keep going, tell me more, because this is amazing. It is an experience in a very good way. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on another year of Guild Wars 2, both of you. Thank you for all of your hard work. Very, very much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Guild Wars 2. Yeah. All right. You guys stick around. We have another short video and then a couple more devs to hang out with. Congrats, you guys.
Thanks.
Welcome, crew members, to another bright day in Lab Alpha 19, creating yesterday's tomorrows today.
Bad news. Zero idea where the base is, but I did find the name of a scientist there.
So, if we find the scientist, we find the base Joko's using to launch his attacks.
One of their convoys just received an unusual order to delay their arrival. Taking their place should get you inside.
The commander leading me around in chains? Not a chance.
It's Aurora Peachy. I'm a Guild Wars 2 live streamer, reactor, and reviewer. I just want to say happy 6th anniversary to Guild Wars 2. Thank you so much for everything that you, ArenaNet, as well as the community of this game has given me over the past 6 years. It's been an absolute blast. Happy birthday!
Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Reagan, and this is the 6th anniversary for Guild Wars 2. And I actually stopped playing around at the time Heart of Thorns was launched, and then I came back for Path of Fire when I saw the news articles online and saw that ArenaNet was adding mounts to the game, which I thought that is exciting, I've got to check that out. And I think I can actually speak for most of the community when I say ArenaNet single-handedly has managed to create the most alive and characteristic mount in any MMO out there to date.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jeremy Adrian, and I've been creating Guild Wars 2 content and live streams for about a year now. And I want to start things off by saying congratulations to everybody involved with Guild Wars 2, from ArenaNet right down to you guys, the community. It's awesome that we're celebrating the game's 6th anniversary. So keep being awesome, everybody, and enjoy Guild Wars 2's 6th anniversary celebrations. I'm gonna leave you guys with a question. What does Palawa Joko taste like? Serious question.
Hey everyone, Jebro here, Guild Wars 2 shoutcaster for PvP. It's been an amazing 6 years, 6th anniversary of Guild Wars 2 with this awesome community where I've had the opportunity, of course, to shoutcast around the world at different events, including PAX South, where I was part of the panel for Heart of Thorns, the expansion announcement, where I met my wife, my whole life changed, and I'm now in America, of course. Guild Wars 2 has meant a lot to me, it's meant a lot to so many people, the creators, the team who obviously create the game, and you, the player and the viewer at home. Have a great 6th anniversary. I will see you soon. Here's to another 6, and I'll see you in the mists.
Welcome back to the Guild Wars 2 anniversary live stream and a couple more of our Guild Wars 2 developers. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and talk about what you've worked on here the past year?
I'm Matthew Medina. I'm a game designer here. The last 12 months for me have been Path of Fire, shipping that, getting that out the door, and then spending a good amount of time on Festival of the Four Winds.
That's right.
Yeah, which we just released.
As it says up there, my name is Nick Hernandez. I am one of the Living World QA embeds, and my job is pretty much to just make sure that all of the content is meeting standards that we set for ourselves at ArenaNet. And the past year has been pretty much bridging Season 3 with Episode 6 to Path of Fire, and now us rolling into Season 4, and kind of just the whole cadence that we've got going on.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a really busy year, and that's like I was talking about with Mike earlier. This time last year, we were just gearing up to announce Path of Fire, and it was like this frenzy. We knew it was coming, and we were preparing. We're going to tell the players this is coming, and not only is it coming, it's coming very, very, very soon, which was just incredibly exciting and also kind of terrifying. And it feels like it has been this nonstop ride ever since. And in between there, we were bringing back Festival of the Four Winds, which is something that we talked about in a recent guild chat that you've been working on for so long.
Yeah.
And I know for me, that was one of the highlights of the past 12 months. And this was something that we touched on briefly in guild chat.
Yeah.
But you and I were chatting after work, and I don't even remember how it came up, but it's one of those moments that like sticks in your head. And you said, Festival of the Four Winds is coming back.
Yeah.
And I just went, I'm sorry, what? Because it sounds like you said Festival of the Four Winds is coming back. And I know you wouldn't just like dangle that in front of me only to take it away.
Yeah.
Because that's mean. And this was in like January.
Yeah. January is when I really kind of got started on the first sort of design pass. Paper design and prototyping and figuring out what we were going to do. And obviously the festival had run before, so we had a lot of the groundwork laid, but it was a lot of figuring out like what worked, what didn't, what are we bringing back, what are we going to leave on the table, what do we want to add to it this year, and especially because we wanted it to be a recurring festival, making sure that it was set up so that it was sort of a timeless thing that could come back year on year and not have to be revisited by the team every single time, because we want to try to automate as much as we can so that festivals run smoothly on a nice cadence. So yeah, that was back in January, which is not too long after Path of Fire shipped. So it was sort of a nice change of pace for me because Path of Fire, as we know, is a big undertaking. It was a lot of late nights of stress of like, oh my gosh, this thing is really going to ship after however long we worked on it. This was it was a nice balance to my year actually, because Path of Fire was such a big thing, and this was. It's not that it wasn't a big thing, the Festival of Four Winds, but it was a nice sort of lighthearted piece of content.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't have to, put a lot of grueling time in on it.
Yeah, well, and there is a difference between, we have this story about, we've got Krakatork is this looming threat, and we're fighting Balthazar, and oh, look, flying Doliac race.
Yes, exactly.
And not to trivialize one or the other, but like you said, that lightheartedness, it's nice to have that balance.
Yeah.
And I know a conversation that I've seen here and there is, how dare the Zephyrite's party? How dare you?
Hey.
Well, because you need that.
You've got to have the good with the bad, right?
Yes.
You can't just, there's plenty of bad stuff that happens in the world all the time. And if we just sat and dwelled on it all the time, nothing would ever get done. You have to have that fun, lighthearted approach to life sometimes.
There's definitely a metaphor for real life and gaming in there somewhere that
Very
I can't
much,
quite find,
yeah.
but it's there. Well, how about you, Nick? What were some of your highlights over the past 12 months?
Oh, God.
You have to pick one. No.
There's so many.
You can pick several.
Well, I think at least something that I enjoyed working on the most was the Griffin collection from Path of Fire.
That's right.
That one was just absolutely amazing. And shout out to Rob Stokes, who was the designer that went absolutely insane on that thing. It was his passion project, and you could tell.
Yeah.
I just remember the collection itself, in my opinion, is amazing and it was really well developed. But just seeing the systems behind it is insane.
Really?
Yeah. So with episodes 1 and 2, we introduced these things called visibility channels, which is basically NPCs will show up at certain points.
Visibility channels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that depends on this buff that gets placed on the player, and it's all client side. Before that, we didn't have that in Path of Fire. So what Rob actually did was he made some absurd amount of different teams and stealthing. Because if you look at the Sunspear Sanctuary, there is 15 NPCs there, and each one shows up depending on the things that you do within the world throughout Path of Fire. So whereas now you would just set visibility channels, before he had to do a lot of different team switching and applying of stealth and things like that, and a lot of checking its progress. It was insane. I actually remember looking at it, and he had just upwards of hundreds and hundreds of different teams. And I think, if I remember correctly, Dodge also worked on it. He was one of the programmers that worked on it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Dodge too, because without that kind of programming backbone to be able to support this, it would not have gone out the way that it did.
Okay, so when you say teams, I hear teams here in the building.
Yeah, sorry.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you said hundreds.
Yeah.
And are we changing up the teams more than I realized?
No.
Because wow.
So in game, what we do is we have different teams for different agents, or characters. So there are hostile teams, the enemies that you fight against in Guild Wars 2. They're all red. There's neutral teams. And those are the ambients not the ambients. Those are the neutral characters, the Rock Gazelle and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there's ambient teams, which are bunnies and bunny rabbits, rats, those things.
Yeah.
And if you notice, some teams will fight, some creatures will fight other creatures, but not fight you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Each of those is a different team that basically says, I can fight these teams, I'm friends with these teams, and so on and so forth. So basically what we needed to do, or at least what Rob needed to do with this, he needed to make sure that you were put on teams that made it so that way the NPCs would actually be stealthed to you, but not attack you, so they had to be hostile, but not hostile towards the player. It was absolutely just crazy.
I'm pretty sure it broke a few times
in
in
did.
very majestic ways.
Yes, I remember.
Anytime you mess with players and teams, it has the potential to go bad.
Yeah, I remember there was one time actually on that. There was an example where I was standing there, and one of our testers, his name was Johnny. Shout out to Johnny, because he also worked heavily on this. I just started he was taking damage. And he was like, "What's going on?" And I could see the NPC, but he couldn't see the NPC, and the NPC was just attacking him. And I was like, "Don't move."
Oh no!
I was like, "I need to debug this right now." So.
And he's like, "But it hurts."
It's like I'm gonna die. But yeah, it was. I guess that's why that one, at least to me, was the most exciting, and I'm going to stop rambling now because I could talk
No,
forever
that's
about
okay,
it,
because that's kind of exactly, that scenario is exactly what I was picturing. Like, something invisible is beating me to death. And what's happening?
But you're supposed to be my ally. What's going on? I thought we were friends.
Also, I can't see what's happening. I just know it hurts, and I can't see it.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It was a trip to work on that one.
Yeah, the behind the scenes of a lot of these things that on the surface seem very simple, but it's like this Rube Goldberg machine underneath is consistently incredible to me.
Yeah.
And watching, well, like when we found the Griffin, and this is a conversation that I had with some players last week. When players found the Griffin, it was this absolutely incredible rush because we managed to keep that a secret. And there were some players, I don't know if you guys happen to be watching, but thank you, because you made my week last week. This group that was saying, we figured that something cool like the Griffin, you would advertise, make a huge deal of this before the game. But then we found it on our own in game, and it was incredible. And one of the guys who was talking to me said, I was just like riding through the desert and I saw something swoop past me and I stopped. He like pulled up and went, what was that? And it was like not something he recognized. And afterwards, and he said retroactively going back and looking at the mount art and realizing that way in the background
There's a little silhouette.
was a little silhouette of a griffin, and putting all those pieces together afterwards was so incredibly gratifying.
Yeah.
And everything surrounding that griffin was just so much fun. And knowing that it had that effect on the players and that all of you enjoyed that as much as we did.
It was one of those where I've been around the industry a long time, and it takes a lot to sort of surprise me. And when I said, "Oh, we're not going to announce this. We're going to hide it, and we're going to let players discover it," I thought, "Why? Like, this is like the premier thing that we're like shipping with this expansion. You would intuitively think, I want to make a big deal about this. It's, I also went to art school where the marketing was a big part of my education, and so like that was like marketing, anti-marketing. It was like, no, we're not going to put the big bullet point on the back of the box.
It felt weird, right?
Yeah, it was like, why would we do that? That seems counterintuitive, but then it works. So it was just one of those things of like, wow, that was an awesome moment to see players discover that.
Yeah.
And like to go off of that, we of course we all knew about it, so we just had to kind of sit there and watch and wait for players to finally discover it, to finally figure out the pieces, because we couldn't touch it. Like it was mandated. It's like nobody in the studio can be the first one to get the Griffin.
Yeah.
That was the thing I was going to say, because I don't know, I wasn't sure if you guys remembered, but, and I think we may have talked about this at some point in the past, but as soon as somebody unlocked it, it was going to show up in the API.
Yeah.
So we had a studio-wide mandate, like Nick said, where nobody in the studio, we couldn't start the collection. It didn't matter if we were ready to start the collection. We're like sitting there waiting for one of you to do it. And then there was like this mad in-studio rush, like, yes, we can finally get the Griffin.
But not in a bad way though. It wasn't like we were like hurry up. It was mostly like just pure like.
We were waiting to unwrap. It was like Christmas morning.
Yeah, it was.
We're just waiting, and
we're so excited.
We were just waiting for you guys to find this wonderful, amazing thing, and we didn't want to ruin it from in the studio.
Yeah.
So we were just like all kind of, don't touch it, don't ruin it, nobody mess it up.
Also because the fact that like we reward the first player that like stumbled upon it and or discovered it, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Yeah.
And with this much notice, I can't remember exactly what. It's like in the back of my head going, I know we did a thing.
Yeah, I think we definitely did a thing. I remember that
I also can't remember what I had for dinner last night. So,
I think that person like tweeted out about it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we were going to give a prize to whoever the first person was that actually discovered it, because it's an undertaking to even get to that point.
Yeah.
So and yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the person definitely tweeted out about it, and they were like, "Oh my God, look what I got! Look what ArenaNet sent me."
It's
like,
it was.
It's just stuff like that. I don't know. That's what makes me love working here.
Yeah.
It's just we care about our community quite a bit.
Yeah. So the door just opened, and I figured it was going to be somebody coming in here to tell us what we did for the first player. Like, here's what it was.
Right.
So
it was also, there was this moment after, because you got the unlock for the Griffin, but then you had all the masteries that really kind of kind of really need to really make use of the Griffin in a way that is super cool. And like, so watching players as they unlocked all of those it was so much fun from start to finish to see how that collection was implemented and was delivered to players.
Yeah, it really was. And it was something that was a big topic of conversation was that it was a more expensive mount. Total of 250 gold in the end, and something that I, as a player who does not have that in my mattress, appreciated was that it was broken down in chunks of 25 gold.
Right.
Like, oh, I can still progress. I don't have to just sit here and twiddle my thumbs and farm up that 250 gold all at once.
Yeah.
It was a considerate thing for those of us who who don't have like a dragon horde over here.
And like, you know, the Griffin was supposed to be this like staple mount, like the prime mount. So I remember like we had conversations, at least pertaining to the roller beetle, where it was like we wanted to make something that was like good and fun and that players enjoyed, but was more accessible than the Griffin, but didn't overshine or wasn't overshined by the Griffin.
Yeah.
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 Which, you know, is a struggle also in itself.
Yeah, we have a problem at the studio setting the bar high for ourselves and then trying to figure out what are we going to do to up that, but not necessarily take away from the bar we just set.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah.
There is that weird little dance of, okay, we did a really cool thing. Now we have to do a cooler thing that doesn't make this thing. It's this weird little line to walk because I appreciate that. I love that we have high standards.
Yeah.
But it is, let's not render things obsolete, please.
Yeah. I mean, it allows us to push for innovation. Like what I was saying from visibility channels, like Rob kind of bought in this thing of like, hey, this is a new way that we can play things that like sets the bar. But it's also like through that we found out a new way to do things that allowed us to push that bar even further.
Yeah.
So it's not just like one-upping ourselves, but finding new branches that we can take.
Yeah.
Which just makes it super exciting to work here, in my opinion.
It does. And I think the theme that I'm finding in everything that we're talking about, and the thing that makes me so incredibly happy, is the underlying theme in all of what our highlights are is watching players discover these cool things that we've put in game. And virtually speaking, watching your faces light up and watching how much you love finding these things that you guys have created.
Yeah.
So, again, like we've been saying, thank you so much for enjoying this world and making all of this hard work worth it.
So it definitely does make it all worth it. I can
it is.
definitely agree on that.
Yeah, because we're here because we love to be here, and we're here because we love that you guys love to be here. Yeah, so, well, I will let you guys get back to work. Congratulations on another year of Guild Wars 2.
Yes.
And you guys have more things to do to prepare for what's coming.
We sure do.
I think Z said buckle up, and that's I was going through some upcoming content yesterday, and buckle up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know what you're both working on, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what's coming.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be exciting, to say the least.
All right. Well, why don't we take a look at another interview with one of our Guild Wars 2 voice actors, and I will let you guys get back to it. Thank you, and congratulations, and happy anniversary.
You too.
All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Yuri Lowenthal, and I voice, among others, Farron and Herotron, who sometimes Hobotron, sometimes Jobotron, who hopefully will just Helotron, just keep troning. When I come in to record a session and I'm playing, Ashura Mail or whatever, that's great, and it's always a good time. But when I see Farron, when I see a Farron script, I know it's going to be an amazing day. The delegation will be so impressed. Received by not one, but two of the most distinguished heroes in the world. Farron is such a delight. He is memorable to me and so dear to my heart because he is so earnest and so in love with himself, and yet he is without malice at all. If you were using that somehow, or if you were treating people poorly, because, except for Bongo, who's, that's just Bongo's lot in life, I guess. But he's just so charming and clueless that I adore him. I adore him mightily. Do I have anything in common with Farron? We're both on the clueless. I think on the clueless scale, we're both pretty far to that end. And I do my best to live without malice. So I would have to say And he's always got. Here's the thing I think we might share most of all is that he is infinitely optimistic, more so than he should be. And I think we definitely share that because I am also I live on the optimistic end of the scale. Farron has changed over the time that I've played him for sure, and I love that. I mean, any actor will tell you that we love to play characters with arcs, characters who change. As much as I love Farron the way he is, it has been marvelous to watch him change over time, and dare I say, grow up a little. Is that horrible? I mean, we don't want him to grow up too much. Maybe just a little bit.
Seems to me this Joko has already declared war on us. And I, for one, am joining the fight.
Something that I know about Farron that nobody else knows. I'm always loath to give up secrets about Farron. The bluster covers, I think, the fact that he is very uncomfortable with the ladies. He doesn't have quite the confidence that he would like you to believe. But I think Farron would, contrary to popular belief, he would love to settle down with someone, but he's never been able to find that person. Also his first name's Bob. Bob Farron. If I could give Farron one piece of advice, it would be to wear pants more often. No, you know what? No, because I love that. It would be to actually take those lessons that Bongo gave him and practice more. Because I think he's growing into a type of Farron that's going to need to back up the words that he says. So I think while nobody's looking behind the scenes, he should be practicing the heroing so that when it comes time to actually be the hero, he's got something, a leg to stand on.
Commander, I did it. The scarabs almost got me, but that day needed saving.
Yeah, you beat it. You beat it on D. Keep her there. That was awesome.
Bob Farron, you heard it here first.
He's so great.
I liked talking with Yuri so much. I could just sit there and chat with him all day. He's like the sweetest dude.
He's the best.
So, well, thank you guys for joining for our Guild Wars 2 anniversary live stream. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. Happy anniversary. Congratulations on another year.
You too.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves to our viewers and talk a little bit about what you've been working on over the past 12 months. Remember everything. No. Eve's like, oh God.
Okay. I am Eve Eschenbacher. I'm the voiceover lead, and I have been working on all of the VO for the past year and plus.
I'm Tom Abernathy. I'm the studio narrative director, which means I'm also the narrative director for Guild Wars 2. And over the last year, we have finished and sent Path of Fire out into the world, and we have done finished off episode 6 of season 3 in the time that I've been here, and then of course released the first 3 episodes of season 4 this year, and we're coming up sometime soon, not gonna say when, to an episode 4. It'll happen.
Someone at Gamescom asked me if I could tell them anything about episode 4, and I was like, I can. Are you ready? Are you ready? And episode 4 is coming.
That's right. That's pretty much all we can say. You are not. It is
and I
like
got to
winter,
keep my
it
job.
Is, that's right. Like
Yes.
winter, it is coming for sure.
Yeah. So, like you said, the past 12 months and more, because VO does like way in advance, as does narrative even farther, because you can't just get in front of the actors and be like, make something up. I don't know. You do you. We'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll just edit it together in post.
There are some days when it's just kind of you do you, and we'll figure it out.
But it is good to have some words for them.
Well, not just. I mean, we create the fictional context that everything happens in, and all of the gameplay. So, in fact, narrative is for us at this company and with this game especially, narrative is basically, it kicks off the process in a lot of senses. It's us usually working closely with Lindsay Murdoch, who is the lead content lead, design lead on GW2, and we start figuring out what the season is going to be a year before the first episode will be released on average, I would say probably, 9 to 12 months. So we have a pretty good idea at this point of things going into the future. And that video came out today, right? Did it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So I can say yes. There will be a season 5.
My eyes just got like this big, and I was going, which one? I don't know.
I know there's so many
videos.
No, so everybody now knows there will be a season 5. Yay!
Yes.
So that is the thing we've been working on for longer than, frankly, you probably would think we would have been working on it. And at the same time, we are in process. We are literally in production for all the remaining episodes for this season, and that process, the process of from initially conceiving a Living World season to the release of the last episode of the season is probably 2.5 years plus. From beginning to end.
Yeah,
So.
there is a lot going on.
Yes.
Well, so what have been some of your favorite? I mean, the things that we've released, and you guys get a pass on going much farther back into the past. Over the past year, what are some of the things that we've released that have been your favorite, or even with you, Eve, some of the VO stuff that we've
we've had some really great sessions with our actors. Let's see, we recorded episode 3 back in April, I think it was.
It was April. It's been a
4
while.
was July. 5 is coming up. And so I'm living in like
I don't want to talk about it.
3 different episodes right now.
Yeah, because that's what Tom was saying. We went and saw Infinity War while we
Right.
were down in
yeah.
Burbank, and I was just like traumatized.
Yep.
And so, trying to keep everything straight in my head. It's like, which episode was that again? Because I got to remember.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
It is hard because for us, it's like everything. So many episodes are in production at the same time at different stages, and we do forget what happens in which one. We just know what the sort of total story is.
Yeah.
And like, what's coming to my mind right now is all stuff that I can't talk about because that's episode 4 stuff that hasn't.
That's right.
It's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming.
the,
There's awesome stuff coming. We've got some really great stuff that we've done as well. We've gotten more diversity in our cast, and that's something that was really important to me. You know, being able to add new actors and new voices and new types of voices in, rather than just having a whole bunch of white people in our cast.
Yeah.
Diversifying, getting more people, and some of these. Some of the actors that we've brought in have just been amazing. I mean, all of our cast is amazing to start with, but when you bring in a new person, you're like, I hope this works out, and then they come in and they just blow you away. You're like, yes.
Well, it has to be super stressful. It's an unknown quantity, and there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to think about. And I know we've worked very hard on that the past couple of years because of the regions of Tyria that we were moving into, and we did need to diversify our cast a little bit. And I feel like that's been really successful. The actors that we've hired have been so unbelievably talented.
Yeah, I mean, Alona was an amazing opportunity for that.
Yeah.
And we've discovered, excuse me, a bunch, as you said, of actors of color who we didn't know about and who ought to be getting work, to be perfectly frank, more often than they do, who are fantastic. And so that's a great resource for us because we love using them. The pool of actors that is now sort of part of our company has been greatly enlarged and diversified and gives us all sorts of new sort of flavors to work with,
We called in a couple new actors. I'm just thinking of for Path of Fire, Sonia Leslie and Charisse Booth, and we just wanted to make sure we had a breadth of voices in Alona. We got them in the booth. Their credits on IMDb were kind of sparse compared, but we get them in the booth and we're like, oh my goodness, these guys are amazing. We'll find more stuff for them, put them in the game wherever we can.
Yes.
We started writing roles for them specifically.
Really? They were that good? Well, I met Sonia Leslie and I listened to her work and I was just sitting there in awe of how good her voice was. She's very, very good.
I had a funny story actually with
Please.
Sonia Leslie. She's also the voice of the mother and teacher Susie on a kids show called Sid the Science Kid, which my son and I watched. Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I saw her name come up, I'm like, oh, she's teacher Susie. This is going to be awesome. And we call her in. She's recording with us. And I was like, just so you know, my son absolutely loves Sid the Science Kid. And he and I watched together. And she's like, I think that's the first time I can say that Sid the Science Kid has gotten me a job.
Are you serious? That's so funny. Aw.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, my kid's over here going, will you get Matthew Mercer's autograph? So kudos.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, going back to what you were saying about, we record so much in one session, I'm thinking back to April, because you guys are down there so much more than I've gone like once, twice in 4 years. But I remember back in April, we were doing like episode 3, Festival of the Four Winds, a little bit of episode 4, and there was just so much crammed into that week.
And wasn't there a fractal too or something?
Oh gosh, that's right. There was also the fractal.
Yeah, there was
Alex,
a
like,
fractal.
Alex off stage is saying, yes, there was a fractal I wrote.
We had that session. I think was 3,500 lines,
Which is
33
pretty
or
big for us.
3,500 lines.
That's so much.
Yeah, that's pretty big for us for sure.
It was. Yeah, I'm just like counting hours. It's like 2 studios, 8 hours a day, 5 days, and hopping back and forth.
And we always have to we have to record cinematics for an episode with the previous episode session because the cinematics team needs that audio in advance because their work takes longer to do, right? So like you said, a little bit of episode 4 and all these various things, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a good thing we have great producers and Eve because it's a lot of material.
Yeah. Well, seeing once you see all of this work, you've seen it done in the booth and you've seen it through the table reads and everything. What have been some of your favorite scenes to see once we got Pathfire out the door? What were some of the favorite things that you got to see on live and player reactions?
And not mine, but well, okay. So yeah, and we've talked about this before, but the scenes in episode 1 when the commander goes to the jail to bust out Zaim, and you hear over the comm, you hear Taimi begging for you, wanting to know where you are in a very hushed tone, and she begins weeping, and you hear people dying and screams and stuff, and then it becomes clear that Joko has kidnapped her and is killing and awakening people in front of her, basically to torture you, to get at you, right? That for us was a really big scene because it sort of staked out new ground in terms of how real we were planning to get with the emotional stakes and the weight of stuff that happens, and so we knew we were taking a risk. We crossed our fingers, thought it would work. When we got the performance from Debbie that we got, we knew as far as that was concerned that it worked. Yeah. She was amazing. But honestly, I thought we're going to put this out, and half our players are going to be like, "This is awesome," and the other half are going to be like, "Whoa, that's kind of a little different,
wrong
right?"
with you people?
Yeah. And what was shocking to me, in the best possible way, was that within a couple of hours of the release of episode 1, we started already seeing people talking online about how affected they had been by that, and how for the rest of the episode they were just, I've got to find Taimi. Like it lent exactly the sense of urgency and sort of ramping up the pressure that we wanted it to, and because they cared about her so much and everything, right?
Yeah.
And so it clearly succeeded in a way that, speaking for myself at least, I had never dared to hope that it would, with a lot more people than I expected that it would. And it felt like a real validation of the direction that we were sort of wanting to go in. And the thing that's unique in a lot of ways about Living World is that we put that out and we're seeing that reaction within a couple of hours, and that very day we can then take that knowledge into our sessions working on the other episodes and go, okay, now we have a sense of what they're going to be willing to go with us on, right? And so the immediacy of that feedback loop is astonishing and so incredibly fun. That's the big one that sticks with me.
Yeah.
From the season.
Again, this speaks to something that Mike and I were talking about earlier. We are listening to you guys so hard, and we need to hear this, and we want to hear what you have to say about this. Like people like Tom and Eve are literally taking it right back into the recording studio and saying, okay, here's what they're saying. And it makes an enormous difference. It really is helpful.
Yep. And of course we wanted the impact on Taimi of those events to be something which lingered across episodes, because we're a serial, we're not just an episodic show. Our storyline crosses episodes, our character arcs cross episodes, and so there is we knew then what we could do with Debbie and what we could do with Timey, that she could handle, and that we thought the players could handle, and not all of that has come out yet, but it will, and I think people will like it.
Well, and it helps with Debbie specifically. It helps talking to her and hearing what she has to say over the years. She cares deeply for this character on a personal level. She's not just coming in like, okay, who is this Tammy? I'll read this thing on this paper. She knows this character and she loves her and she cares for her very, very much and relates to her, and she's got this character in her head, and you can really tell.
Yeah, we have so many actors, and Yuri is another one who's with Farron, as you can see, they've been playing these characters for a long time, and they have watched and participated in the evolution of those characters as well, right? One thing that we talk about a lot is that a number of our characters, including the PC, frankly, are not exactly the same now, 6 years down the line, as they were when the game first started. And we hope that we're always working to give actors an ever more rich and fully dimensional sort of a set of material to work with when they come into the booth. And we give them the scripts and information ahead of time. They know what the story's going to be. They know what the arcs are. And they come in really ready to play ball in a way that they don't have the opportunity to in a lot of the jobs they work. And so that's another reason I think that they really like working with us.
Yeah. Eve, there's a behind the scenes story that I kind of want you to tell because it really affected me. We were talking about when Joko kidnapped Timey, and she was having to do that weeping.
Oh yeah.
And I will just find out this way if you know which one I'm talking about. Because it really touched me.
Oh yeah, it was one of the most stressful sessions I've been in, not because of anything that was going poorly, but because it was going so well. Because that session was like Debbie Derryberry sobbing for 4 straight hours. And she was
the lights
amazing.
Were dimmed
yeah, we dimmed the lights. Everybody is just sitting there in the booth watching her performance, like biting our nails. We're also stressed. And
please understand, how tall is she?
She's kind of a little bit shorter. Like she's
that is one way you could put it.
She's a small person.
She's shorter than I am. But no, she's amazing. But we're all sitting there just like panicked and stressed for her, listening to her deliver these lines. And I have a Fitbit, my pedometer here. It also watches my heart rate. So I bring up my data after the session, and my heart rate was spiked like for the entirety of the session. I'm just like in high anxiety, just watching her. And I'm sitting there going, this is going to be amazing when we get this into the game, because if it's affecting me that much just sitting here listening to it being recorded, like, it's going to blow up people's minds.
Yeah, and everybody had very strict instructions. You're going to want to comfort her when she comes out. Leave her alone. Don't just let her deal in her own way.
Yeah, we had more people probably in the control room that day than we ordinarily would like for a scene like that. You want to not put too much stress add stress to the actors, situation. But just because of various things that were going on, we needed to have that many people down there at the time. And my recollection was that at least 3 of them were in tears at various points during the session. It was super intense, and we had a long talk with Debbie beforehand about what it was going to be like and what we were going to want. Oh yeah, she was before she went into the booth, she had a good grasp on where we were going to be going, and was ready to go there. And you have to, I think, respect actors and the difficulty of what they do, and extend to them that courtesy of letting them know what you want, and giving them the opportunity to agree to go there with you, because it's not an easy job, that kind of a session, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Normally with a recording session, and I'm speaking in broad generalities of all recording sessions for VO games, a lot of the times the actors will see the material for the first time when they come to the booth. And we made sure, that we got a hold of her beforehand and said, just so you know, we're going to be doing something very different. Just, be ready for it. We're going to talk to you beforehand, just to kind of mentally prep her for the session because it wasn't the normal Guild Wars session.
Yeah.
It's good to mentally prepare our voice actors for surprising things. That's a story for another day, but
well, it's I mean, we want to elevate our material and the performances and everything to a level above what you usually get in most video games and other animated stuff, things that voiceover actors work on, right? I mean, if you're an on-camera actor or you're in a stage play, you have at least part of a script and frequently the whole thing, and you can study who your character is and sort of do your homework before you come in to do the thing, right? And we feel like it's only going to help our actors and get better performances out of them if they have that same kind of information available to them ahead of time. So
yeah, absolutely. So that is Timey's kidnapping and watching or hearing the things that Joko was absolutely a highlight in a very upsetting and stressful way for me over the past year. Yeah. But something I'm going to jump in and give one of my own. Hearing Farron grow up a little bit has been, because he kind of had to. Yeah. Has been such a huge highlight for me because, again, like you said, Yuri is another actor who has a very real affection for his character and who knows him and who has walked this path over the years in Guild Wars 2 and has seen Farron turn, like, and I say this with all love and affection, from this gigantic doofus. And he is still like this lovable gigantic doofus, but he's had to very suddenly, like, stuff got real.
Right. Yeah.
And he's had to very suddenly grow up a little bit. And he's he had this line at one point, like, you gave me busy work before, and I'm not having it anymore. And I'm still kind of an idiot, but I'm working on it.
Right.
And, like, Yuri is selling this because he's like got this thing where he's so proud of Farron. Yeah. Because he's trying.
Yeah.
He's an amazing actor.
And and hearing that when it translated into game, I was like, oh my gosh, it worked because he believes it.
Yeah. Well, and part of the kinds of directions that we're going in that we were talking about a minute ago involves that, right? Involves characters who we feel like the last time we left them, maybe they weren't quite in a place that is where we want them to stay. We want to.
Who are you thinking of?
Kabram, naturally. That's what I'm thinking of.
Come on, we're all thinking it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character, another example of somebody who we felt like, and this isn't just us. I mean, we were studying players talking about him, and clearly they were not satisfied as a group with sort of where he'd been left as a character. They felt he'd become this emo mopey kind of stick in the mud who they didn't enjoy. Yeah, I mean, well, and his mom died. I mean, he had good reason.
Granted, there was a lot of discussion about that back then, and a lot of the sentiment was, players, you're feeling something. You're feeling anger, and people don't always handle grief well.
Right.
Sometimes you handle grief like an enormous jerk.
Right. Right. Or a child.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think so. I'm not slamming Bram and saying that. I think he had very good reasons for being in the space he was in. But we felt like he'd been in it long enough, and we wanted to. That's right. We thought that what the commander would want for him basically would be to give him a little kick in the seat and say, look, you can't spend your whole life grieving for the things that you've lost. We all lose things, and it matters for sure. And again, that's a thing. That's not going away. Bram's carrying that with him, even as we move forward in a lot of different senses. Not to give anything away, but we felt it was important that Bram begin to grow up a little bit and begin to recognize that that he has a life that he needs to live, and he has his own legend he needs to go make happen, right? And it's funny because, of course, in episode 3 particularly, we had Joko. Joko's pretty hard on Bram. Joko makes some pretty harsh.
He really
slams
does.
on Bram.
That whole scene I'm walking through, like, man, you don't let up.
Yeah. The jokes about him being stupid and all that kind of stuff. And Bram's not stupid. But we loved one particular thing that the writers really loved was, I forget whose idea it was, but when Bram goes EPIDEMIC epidemic, ha! I can't spell, because like he's having fun with it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he still has a little ways to go. He's not where quite over all of those things yet, but there's more to come in terms of his journey, and he's definitely a character that we're bringing back to life in that way. Right?
I'm glad we're moving him out of that rut.
Yeah,
and I love that we didn't just flip the switch. Like, oh, he's fine now.
Yes, very
No,
important.
He's growing.
This is the thing. We don't want to make anything like that happen like that, right? Everything needs to be a multi-episode sort of arc. It's a slow walk for all these characters.
Yeah,
in real time.
It is. It's weird, or it would have been weird for Bram to be like, "What? No, I was never awful to you."
Right.
It was
right.
no. It's everything's fine. We're happy now.
There were things that had to get worked through, and so another thing that I really love is the end of episode 2, where they keep going through the portals. Trying to find their way back home, and then the last one, they're sort of stuck on this rock in the middle of space, Thanos land, basically, right? And they've got nothing to do, and it becomes clear that the only thing they have to do maybe is talk about the thing,
awkward.
right?
And
just as they're about to do it, Gory comes through on the comm, and it's like, oh, thank God you're here. Okay, we'll go home now, right? Like we wanted to bring them to that point, but not actually let them have the conversation yet.
Okay, this is uncomfortable enough. Here we go.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting watching his progression and his journey. But I am glad, like you said, it's a gradual thing and not just, okay, everything's fine now.
Yep.
Wow, snapping was in super poor taste considering. Wow.
Speaking of Thanos.
Go me.
Yeah, but there are more characters who similar things are going to be happening with.
Yes.
We can say a lot more in a couple of months.
Oh, man. My theme for the day is I cannot wait for you guys to see what's coming.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you both. Happy anniversary. Congratulations
you.
On another year.
You too.
And save me some pizza.
Definitely.
All right. Well, you guys actually might want to hang out in the room for a little bit longer because we have another VO actor interview. Yeah, we're going to talk with Kari Wahlgren.
Oh, Kari.
Yeah. Yes,
Yay.
right?
Kari's one of my favorite people.
Yes, she is awesome. So stick around and we will be back in just a couple minutes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
19? This is going to be us?
Yep. Remember what I said about Steve Bloom yesterday?
Yeah. Sure.
Hi, I'm Kari Wahlgren, and I play Kaith. Kaith is very enigmatic. I always like characters that aren't straight up good or straight up evil, so her alliances are always a little bit in question in the game, which is a lot of fun. She's a Sylvari, and she kind of does what she wants. She's not really playing for any one team.
Hello, Timey. Commander. We have a lot to talk about, don't we?
I think one of the most fun moments of voicing Kaith was some of her scenes with Fowlin. They were so lovely and deep and very touching, and I think they just kind of showed us some insight into her character that we hadn't seen before. So for me personally, I really enjoyed that. Kaith has gone through a lot and changed through the game, and I think vocally, it just kind of adds layers. It adds subtext to the character, which is always great. You know, when you have a game that is long running and you get to know the characters on a deeper and deeper level, that's like really fun for us on the voice acting side, because you get to explore different parts of their personality and you get to learn more about them. And I think that comes through in the performance.
We have a lot of work ahead of us. I think I can help with that.
I think my favorite thing about Kaith is that we never know what to expect from her. We never know who she's going to side with. We never know if she's going to help us or lead us astray. We never know who she's going to love. She's just very, very enigmatic. If I could give Kaith a piece of advice, maybe watch her back.
This was fun, wasn't it? We should collaborate again sometime.
Here we go as you kind of continue.
We, the gods,
saw there could be no victory in our inevitable conflict with the Elder Dragons.
If you won't join the fight against the dragons, I'll see you all burn with them.
That conflict could only end in two ways. The ruin of the Six, or the utter destruction of Tyria's magical balance.
We only handed an elder dragon the energy of a god. What could go wrong?
The Awakened have been terrorizing our town, caging anyone who resists. I don't know how much longer we can survive.
Arena? Hope she still remembers who her friends are.
All right, welcome back. Thank you guys for joining. Happy anniversary. Happy Guild Wars 2 birthday.
It's a happy day.
I am so happy that we're going through this and getting to talk to all of you guys. Why don't you two introduce yourselves and talk about what you've been working on the past year?
I'm Alex Kane. I'm a writer and narrative designer here at ArenaNet. This year, gosh, I've been on a lot of things. I started by writing books that showed up in episode 1 of Living World. I did some open world stuff for episode 2. I worked on Fractal for the Deepstone Fractal. I was the writer on that. And next raid that we're hinting at, but haven't really talked about too much. But that's
But it is coming.
Yes, it is indeed coming. People know it's coming. They don't know what it is.
I do. Sorry. Ben?
Same thing as him. I worked on raids. I'm Ben Arnold. I am the content programmer for Fractals and Raids. So obviously worked on raids. And, you know, the random Fractal updates, new Fractals, QOL, sometimes random things for Living World, and obviously Path of Fire stuff.
Nice.
Oh, Festival of the Four Winds, too.
That one, too, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We worked on a lot of the same things, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is why I scheduled you together.
Yeah.
Well, what have been some of your favorite highlights over the past year?
You go first.
And you don't have to just pick one. I was kidding earlier.
Oh, okay.
I mean, all of my favorite highlights are, like, I think my most favorite highlight is the things that I can't talk about yet. So
that's so frustrating.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yes. It is pretty frustrating. But just being able to work with the Fractals and Raids teams together has been pretty amazing. Originally, we were kind of more separated, but our content had a lot of overlap. So while we would kind of come together for some meetings and things, there were a lot of resources that, like, one team would sort of miss out on that the other team had. So when we sort of combined the teams, it allowed us to kind of share those resources more efficiently. We had meetings together to sort of plan out all the different encounters using the skill sets of both teams together, and that's just been a joy. I've enjoyed it, and I think it's going to be a good thing for the content going forward.
It's a fun group, too.
Yeah,
just having everyone in the same room.
Yeah.
You can toss ideas between the different teams, like, oh, this isn't good for the Fractal, but it'd be good for the raid, you know, and there's a lot of that.
Exactly, yeah.
But gosh, yeah, I mean, I'm also really excited for things I can't talk about. But yeah, I want to say that the Festival of the Four Winds was a really fun sort of highlight. It was really great to see that stuff go out as quickly as it did. You know, that's just the nature of the festival, I suppose.
Well, sure.
And you know, people have a very strong connection to the original Festival of the Four Winds. So it was really fun to see that sort of immediate payoff for that. But I think that the Deepstone Fractal was probably the most satisfying thing that I worked on that I can talk about. That was, you know, sort of the first big solo project that I worked on. Insofar as something is solo here in a writing capacity, you're always talking through your scripts with other writers, and you're going through table reads, and you're talking with designers, and that was a lot of fun.
I think it's on my mind because we were just talking with Tom and Eve about VO stuff, but like we said, we were working on. I just happened to be in the recording studio watching when we were recording some of the VO for the Deepstone Fractal. And hearing some of the VO was like the spookiest session I've ever. I was just sitting there going, oh, I think that's Cthulhu stuff happening, and maybe I should just leave because everyone here is definitely going to die.
Yes, people. I knew that players would figure it out eventually, and they figured it out very quickly. That the language that Steve Bloom's character is speaking in the Deepstone Fractal is a vocalization of a written-only, text-only cipher that was in earlier content in the Guild Wars universe. And it did not translate perfectly to English. It, like spoken word, it was kind of nonsense. And you did get a lot of these, it looks like a Lovecraftian sort of like, there are 14 consonants back to back. What am I supposed to do with that? My kingdom for a vowel. But he is Steve Bloom. He performed it admirably. I do remember hearing John DiMaggio. There's a bit at the end where he's talking. He and Steve Bloom were like overlapped a little bit, and so he was timing it to Steve Bloom's original dialogue, and just hearing John sort of like what exactly is going on here? What is he saying?
Just do it.
Yeah, and he did. He did it really well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Was that a session that you Skyped in for?
I did Skype in for that one. I wanted to go, but I got to go to the next one instead, which was
I'm so jealous. I wanted to go to that one.
I desperately, so that one was for the raid. I actually got it wrong when I was gesticulating wildly to Eve and Tom before about the last record session. It was It was for the raid, and it was a lot of fun, and people should be very excited about it.
I am like chewing my tongue in half over here.
Yeah.
Quick, talk about the last raid wing.
The last one? You mean the one before the new one?
Yes, don't talk about the one that's not out yet.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Hall of Chains was really great.
Hall of Chains was a good one.
It was. We should talk about that some more.
Please.
That one was a lot of fun to work with because it was another thing where we were sort of like making a boss fight that was a god, which reminds me of like Balthazar when we had to make Balthazar. How do you make a fight with a god that feels like you're fighting a god, but isn't actually like fighting a god because he would just wipe the floor with you? And Byron did a really good job with like the actual Doom encounter and just the whole aesthetic of the raid itself, just the underworld. It was a location we hadn't been to before in raids, and it was something that just the whole aesthetic of it is not something we'd really seen before. And just that in itself and just all the encounters, I think, came together really nicely. So if you enjoyed that one, I think you're going to enjoy the next one for sure.
Yeah. I didn't work on it, but I enjoy it as a fan.
Yeah.
I've seen many playthroughs of it.
Well, going back, I mean, the Underworld raid in particular, I mean, that's a place that is iconic from the first Guild Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And that feels like, was that intimidating? I mean, was that something that you had to step back and take a harder look at before you went back there?
So luckily I didn't really have to because we didn't really fully merge the teams until sort of the end of the development. I just sort of jumped in there to help with building some of the skills out and kind of polishing up things, like making all the weird cracky patterns on the ground for Doom, for instance.
I feel like...
Yeah. But just working in that space and working on all those things was a little intimidating because you have to make these skills that kind of complement the whole arena and complement the fact that you're in the underworld and you're fighting, like a god of death. That was, pretty crazy stuff.
And I feel like the god of death is probably going to win, but maybe not necessarily.
It had to feel that way, but you have to always be able to triumph.
Right.
Well, yeah. You get at least a shot.
Yeah.
So what were some of the QL things that you put out?
Well, actually, just recently, one of the big ones was that we shipped today. The agony resistance changes. Now in fractals, you can see the agony resistance up in the top left-hand corner, which was a problem before because you would sort of jump into a fractal with somebody who maybe wasn't familiar with agony resistance or didn't realize that they didn't have enough, so then they would die to it. And then we also moved the instabilities to the top right-hand corner because having all those buffs on your bars all constantly shuffling around makes it really hard to tell what's going on sometimes. But there's been a lot of things like I added the thick health bars option so you can look at how you can see health better for your party or your squad. You can see like who's in your subgroup instead of just in the squad and actually help healers kind of be healers in our game. And probably a lot of other stuff that I'm blanking on right now. I try to do little QOL things every now and then in between bigger projects. If I have some downtime, I kind of look at some of the low-hanging fruit and try to do some of that.
Yeah. Honestly, all of those little touches like that, they add up to make an enormous difference and make the game so much better.
Yeah, usually the little QOL patch notes are the ones that get the most comments and things on Reddit.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's like the smallest little feature, but everybody freaks out about it.
Yeah, it's very true. So, all right. Well, I will let you guys get back to work because apparently there's something else coming. I don't know.
Some stuff we gotta do.
There's some stuff.
Yeah.
We're dying here, you guys.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Can we like push this anniversary back by a bit? I don't know. It's
No,
sadly.
there's stuff that you guys need to get finished.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Get back to work. You have something to get out the door.
It's true.
All right. Guys, stick around. We will be back in just a couple of minutes.
What happened to you out in the desert?
It's a powder keg over there, and that maniac has already lit the fuse. One person against a god of war.
We know there's something in the desert that will help us turn the tide against Balthazar.
So, will this be your first god fight?
Yeah. You? The Elder Dragons will die by my hands. And their power will become my power. I fear he may get the weapon. If he does, the consequences will be unpredictable. We gonna kill a god or what?
We cannot defeat him on our own.
There's no coming back. We must strike now.
The gods have abandoned this world.
No more running, Balthazar. Face me.
Head over to page 3.
Hey, I'm Misty Lee, and I play Rox Whetstone, and various and sundry other human people, and sometimes people that are dying. Stepping into the role of an established character is sometimes really scary, because you want to make sure that you're honoring all the mythology that has come before, while also bringing a new heart and honoring the new line and the new adventures that they're about to take. So it's a huge responsibility, but it's also a tremendous privilege, because what an awesome role, right?
Omicron! Our place is on the front with Ritlock Brimstone! Today we fight to take down a tyrant!
Rox is awesome because she's gruff and tough and has always been so independent. But really, she just wants to belong, and she never really thought she could. So the fact that she's now on this new journey and learning to function within this community, she's kind of cracking open. And it's a really beautiful, wonderful thing to see this gruff exterior, but this beautiful light on the inside.
They really are amazing fighters, but they don't let fighting define them.
My favorite thing about Rox is that she has this playful gruffness that's followed by a lot of heart. So she's got this sass and this brass and this really gold glow. If I could give Rox one piece of advice, it would be you are enough. Rox and I have a lot in common because, I'm pretty brassy and I'm pretty tough on the exterior, but very soft and squishy in the inside, like a lobster. And it affects everything about her because you want to honor all this badassery, and yet you want to bring that warmth because it's always there. Even though she's worked so hard to try to fight it and try so hard to be independent, she loves everybody. Someday he'll grow up. I have to keep believing that. One of the most fun moments I've had doing Rox's voice, well, it's all of them. Every time Bram is in the room with her, I mean, it's like, he'll grow up someday. I have to keep believing that. She's just so optimistic and yet tolerates so much. Oh my God, we're done? Fantastic.
Welcome back to the Guild Wars 2 6th anniversary live stream. I am here with two more of our developers. Why don't you two introduce yourselves and talk about what you've been working on here?
Hello, I'm Jessica Croft. I am currently a rewards designer. You might have known me from Living World, from Story, from Raid, from everything.
All the things.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
And I'm Carl McLean, and I am a game designer. I'm working on the skills side of things. Doing all the elite specializations. I can answer lots of questions about those. We did a lot of design on those. So, yeah, well, that's basically all I got.
All right, well, let's talk about some of what you guys have enjoyed working on over the past year. I know there's a lot, so you can just pick out some of your favorites.
Okay, whenever you ask me that, I struggle because I'm like, wait. Oh yeah, that was 2 years ago.
All things.
That was a year and a half ago.
I'll prompt you first, Jessica. How about Hall of Chains? Ta-da!
So you were. I was watching you interview Ben, and you asked him some questions, and I just wanted to, I was sitting over there, and I just wanted to dive on screen and be like, wait, I can answer that. But I'm pretty sure people wouldn't have appreciated that.
Now is your moment. I would have appreciated it so much.
Hall of Chains. I worked on Hall of Chains primarily on the original concepting of the raid and primarily on Desmina's character and the fights and everything leading up to that. It was, I think the thing you asked was is there a lot of concern? Is it scary working with something as well known to players as the Underworld?
Yeah.
And the answer is, hell yeah, it is. I mean, the thing is, it's that rose-colored glasses thing. No matter what you do, if you try and make something that was like the original, you're inevitably gonna not live up to what players expect in their head because it looks amazing in their head. Look, it didn't look that amazing. Go look at Guild Wars 1. It was good for a time.
But the nostalgia glasses are so strong.
Yeah. So the thing you run into is do we try and ultimately disappoint some people to recreate that experience? Or do we kind of branch out? We go for some of the same themes, but kind of strive into a new direction, make it our own, make it a very Guild Wars 2 experience. And that's what we did. It works for the lore of the Underworld, especially since it's an ever-shifting place. And, it's been a long time since you've been in there. There's also a lot of upheaval when you go in there. If you fall, no spoilers, I guess, for the raid, but yeah, it's
we're so far past the spoiler time limit on this raid. It's okay.
It's like being handed this cherished thing and then being expected to live up to the expectations of that. That's kind of the scary part.
It can be super scary because again, the nostalgia goggles are so hard. You're never going to live up to someone's memory of what they think it was like when it's not necessarily the reality.
I mean, for me in particular,
I can see that.
Yeah, for me in particular, it's tricky because Lindsay, who was my direct boss at the time, made the original Underworld.
Oh
so,
no!
A lot of expectation there.
I would have just taken a precedence under my desk. You are a braver person than me.
This industry makes you brave.
It's very true.
There's a soundbite for you.
But it came out extremely, extremely well. I've seen a lot of player feedback on that one, and a lot of people had a lot of fun with that. So, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm glad they liked it.
You can call that a highlight of the past year.
It certainly was a big part of that year of my life.
Right. How about you, Carl? What were some of your highlights of the past 12 months?
The past, well, I guess the Path of Fire stuff that came out. We were hard at work and trying to get a bunch of new and cool elite specializations out there. I put a lot of time and effort into the Weaver, the Elementalist stuff, and working on a lot of kind of fine tuning like little pieces of like animation and making sure that it felt like a very complete, unique experience.
You just reminded me of something when you mentioned the Weaver, because we had a lot of our members of the partner program visit the studio to preview some of the new Elite specializations.
Oh, yeah.
There was one partner, and you and I were like prowling around waiting for somebody to log in on the Weaver, and one of our partners did, and you and I were like standing behind that person waiting for them to start figuring out the Weaver.
It took a little while, and then they were like, as soon as they like change attunements, and they're like, oh, what's this? Okay, now change attunements again. Oh, what's this? And then they started poking around, and it's like, oh my goodness.
And their eyes were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you know who you are. That was every bit as gratifying as I hoped it would be when they started figuring out.
Way cool to see kind of the excitement building and like that, just that realization of like what this is.
Yes,
it was really fun.
It was, and it was hard for me I loved it just as someone who played that Elite spec. It was hard for me not to just like shove their hands away and be like, okay, let me show you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you were feeling. Just like keep your hands behind your back.
Just holding on.
Yes.
Hanging out. There's been, so aside from Elite specializations and kind of like, and working on those and seeing those go out and people be all excited and play the heck out of them. We've been working on balance. We've been working on like doing changes and reworks and all that kind of stuff. And Underwater was one of those that we got to kind of work on together, Jessica and I. And I got to do a bunch of. I'm wearing the shirt today. Revenant.
Hey.
Underwater. I got to work on that Trident stuff that went out for them. Adding a new weapon to the game was really fun too. Just kind of like, hey, here's an update for Underwater. New weapon. Let's go. Yeah. And Jessica worked on a bunch of the reward stuff for that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really fun process just because as systems, I don't know how much you guys know about the structure of our teams, but systems does whatever any other team needs in terms of systems requests. So like very often, like I'll be working on one thing for like Living World, Carl will be working on like some PvP update, and like we're all on different things. But for the Underwater stuff, we are all on the same thing. Like Carl was showing me all these cool skills all the time, and then I was like, "Oh man, okay,
what do you think about this?
I gotta make it super motivating for players to actually see this stuff." And so it was really fun, like having that kind of that mutually supporting relationship there.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk a little bit more about the systems team, because most of you guys don't work here, so are less familiar than we are.
I imagine a couple of you do.
Hi guys, outside in the office.
What's up? Get back to work.
No, we're celebrating today. Work a little bit, please. We have a lot to do. But if you guys want to give like a high level what the systems team does and introduce your team to people.
Yeah, I think I'll let Carl do that because
Carl's like, thanks.
You're the lead, right? This is a weird time to be asking this, but you're the lead, right?
No, I'm not the lead.
What? Is it already out?
You all met. Everybody met Matt Pennebaker a little bit earlier, and he is the lead for the system.
I thought he was like the lead or something.
Renio's been running. He's been working on getting everything.
Wait a second. Are you saying you're not more important than I am?
No.
No,
wow.
Literally.
I'm not more important
Our power
than anyone.
dynamic has completely changed.
Yeah. So Renio's been working on like kind of getting everybody together and working as this advanced unit over the last, that's another thing, over the last like a bit of time, and that's something that's been developing recently. We actually had a forum chat a little bit, and we got on there and like kind of introduced the systems team and talked about like these are the things we do, and one of my posts was more about like how we choose to rework things, or like what what we do when we're looking at feedback and reading through the analytics and stuff like that, and how we choose what to work on for that period of time.
Awesome. I'm so curious about the power structure now.
No,
I'm gonna.
I think what we're learning here
that took such a funny turn.
What we're learning here is Carl has a very commanding personality.
Oh, cool.
she just believed in this, and you've
I partly feel deceived, but on the other hand, I am awestruck at your ability to lead, even though you're not the leader.
And now she's going to push you around. So
yeah, no more taking orders from you.
Yeah, at one point it was my job to kind of steer some of the elite specialization stuff. So, but we can work around all that kind of stuff.
I love it. So, back to Underwater. How was the player feedback? How did it feel seeing the player feedback and all of these new things that you could do underwater once you guys got done working on this? Because I know I loved reading, wow, look at all of these things that we've added.
I think the most satisfying part of that for me is, much like the real world, there is a lot of water in Tyria. And you're wondering where I was going with that one. And
well, there were like 100 places you could have. So
yeah, I took it the good way. You're welcome. There's so many places underwater that players really had either no reason to explore or no motivation to explore. And it's all of this content, like it's entirely like landmass. Well, kind of a landmass that just players don't go to, and it was really exciting to see players actually be reinvigorated and actually taking the dive back into the water.
Yeah,
had to slip one pun in.
Yeah, it's fine. I remember when we talked about before, the water puns were they were everywhere. There was a flood of them. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad some of you got your toes wet.
Okay. So, well, thank you guys. I know a lot of the work your team does is kind of in the background. So thank you for everything, especially things like the underwater revamp that goes out there and gives players a whole new area to explore and a reason to go back in there. You guys have had a lot to put out in the past year, and I know there's a lot more coming that, again, can't quite talk about yet. But
even today, we got to do some reworks. We got the Herald stuff going in there.
That's right.
And then we got the Guardian staff reworked.
Do you want to talk about those a little bit?
I guess.
Surprise!
Guardian staff got a little bit of a rework. This update, we felt like the weapon. It wasn't cohesive at all. Its whole goal was supposed to be this is your support weapon, and it's sort of it wants to be a little bit of healer, and it wants to be kind of this area control thing, and it's also melee, and so we kind of took one of those aspects. We said it's less of a melee weapon now. Now it's going to be ranged. It's going to have its 2 skill. It's one of its defining abilities is now going to have some heals on it, and it's going to and so the Guardian is able to provide a little bit more support with that weapon itself. Sure. And it wasn't intended to it wasn't like we're going to take this weapon, we're going to turn it into a damage weapon. That's not what this was about. It's supposed to be you have the ability to hit multiple targets at range now if you so choose. But we're taking in kind of shifting the focus more toward that support.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of fun.
Awesome.
And I got new effects, and got to put some cool new effects onto the weapon itself. That was really fun to see something change.
I'll be honest, I haven't had time to log in at all today, so
I got to play a little bit. It was fun.
I will go look very soon, but I was a little busy getting ready for
all of the cameras.
Speaking of heralds,
so I want to talk about a whole different herald, and that's you're giving me that look like.
I'm trying so hard to remember an employee named Harold.
I don't think we've ever employed anyone named Harold. Not that we discriminate against heralds. Don't take it that way. But one of the things that's really satisfying to me as a designer is seeing something that just started off as a small side project blossom and just become something that the fans are really excited about. And I'm, of course, speaking to Lady Camilla, who is your herald for episode 3. I needed to have an NPC that you could work with that knew things about you, that's very excited about your history, in order to do the banner collection, the back banner collection. And the idea just struck me. It's there's this herald that has sent you some mail throughout the course of your leveling up and seem to know a lot about you, but you've never found out anything about them. You don't know what they look like. You don't know what gender they are. You don't know what race they are. And it's like we should fill that out just to round out the world a little bit more and to bring back a surprise character that people might actually be interested in knowing more about.
Totally.
And so I ended up throwing together the composite. The composite is like what the character physically looks like in the world. It's complicated, but I threw it together and I put her in the game, and I thought she would just be like a stepping stone for the whole collection. But then, like one day, I was reading Reddit, and there was this thread, and I cannot remember the person who did the art, but thank you so much. Shout out to you, person from Reddit. I don't remember the name of. I'm so sorry, but they did this thread about how Lady Camilla is criminally unappreciated, and it's like this appreciation thread for your Herald, and they did fan art of the character, and I was just so touched by that.
I love that.
That's way cool.
Tons of comments about how she's the perfect GW2 waifu, so I guess it takes one to know one.
That is honestly that kind of thing where you put this character in there because you felt like she needed more. There's this Herald that's been writing you letters and acknowledging your accomplishments all of this time.
Yeah.
And this was just like a little labor of love over here on the side. Mm-hmm. And that player feedback, that's what we've been talking about all afternoon, is that this is the kind of feedback that we love that keeps us going. And it feels amazing to have that kind of feedback.
Yeah, I mean, we're people. We read Reddit. Sometimes it's not the best idea, but sometimes you read it.
I read everything, like forums.
I'm
Reddit.
sorry.
When you say that, I'm picturing cereal boxes and like the back of shampoo bottles. And yes, I read everything. I read everything. Sides of buses as they go by.
On your pillows,
yes.
I read those.
Do you tear them off first? Because that's terrible.
No.
So, but that kind of thing, it's really gratifying to know that that work that you put in is seen and loved and appreciated.
Yeah, it's why a lot of us are in this industry.
Yeah, we're here because we love it, and we appreciate that you do too. So, well, thank you both for your time. I appreciate it. Congratulations on another year of Guild Wars 2. 6 years, you guys.
Yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
What? So,
old and strong.
Yes, here's to 6 more.
We're still not old enough to drink.
My water. Yay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Congratulations, you guys. You all stick around. We will be back in just a couple minutes.
For the 6 years I have played Guild Wars 2, I have witnessed how this game that I love has redefined the MMORPG genre. I have adventured through beautiful lands and discovered in myself a spark of creativity kindled by a community of gamers I am proud to be a part of. I am the Crichton Herald, and I invite you to come and celebrate the 6th anniversary of Guild Wars 2 with me.
The 6th anniversary of Guild Wars 2 is upon us, and I, Mighty Teapot, have been enjoying the world of Tyria since the very beginning. Let's all hope for at least another 6 years and remember our favourite experiences in the game. Some of mine include organising the 2 glorious raid tournaments with thousands of viewers watching, and of course racing for world's first in the 5 raid wings we currently have. I can't wait to see what ArenaNet has in store for us in the future. I am confident it will be a truly epic adventure.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam and I have been an ArenaNet partner for nearly a year. This almost coincides with the 6th birthday of this amazing game that we're all playing together. This game that I call amazing because it has allowed me, throughout my active years, to meet some of the most wonderful people I could have ever wished for. Funnily enough, I'm gonna be spending the days leading up to the anniversary with these very people at the Gamescom Festival. And none of that could have ever happened without Guild Wars 2 bringing us together.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Logan and I'm an aspiring game artist. My passion for video game art began 10 years ago because of a Guild Wars art contest. This year marked the exciting launch of Path of Fire as well as my invitation into the Creative Partner Program. ArenaNet and the Guild Wars 2 community has constantly inspired me to strive towards my dream. Thank you so much for your support of me and others like me. Happy 6th anniversary.
Keep it. Huh?
There's a little wind on the mic.
Let's try again. My name is Matthew Mercer, and I'm the voice of the male Norn player character. I've been with Guild Wars 2 for a while now, quite a while. It's been a gracious and awesome ride, but I've done a lot of things in between each expansion of the game, and so it's always kind of a fun way to keep the character voice and personality. It's a little bit of dialing back into the world. Thankfully, they do have audio reference of the last time you record, so when you get in the booth, you can match what you previously did, but also it's kind of the drive to the session is very much getting in the mind space of your character. And thankfully, my character in this game, the male Norn, is a lot taller and brawnier than I am, so it's a fun little play in the freeway on the way over, just feeling larger and more dangerous, I think.
I'll deal with it. Don't go anywhere. The Sunspears will decide what to do with you.
One of the challenges for voicing a player character versus a non-player character is non-player characters are generally story fixed, meaning there's a moment in time and a scene in which you have to really encompass what the mindset of that character is, and you can be more dynamic, you can be more in the moment. As a player, because a lot of bits of dialogue have to fit together, you have to find this sweet spot where things don't stand out against each other too much in case any of these branching trees of dialogue and such intersect, but also sound natural, and not everything sounds monotone and the same note over and over again. So it's a very more technical element in the back of your mind as you're doing these lines. So that's one of the challenges of doing a player character. Also the volume of lines comparatively, because NPCs will pop in and out, but the player's always there. So the script is definitely a lot more formidable when it comes to recording for player characters, definitely. Path of Fire has been a real interesting experience for my character, the player character in general. It's not often that a character gets the opportunity to die, peruse the afterlife, and then struggle their way back, and in doing so possibly have set other evils into the world that might come to fruition. So for me, I think it's fun to explore that kind of encapsulated trip to the underworld and trying to salvage your soul in the face of despair. It was really fun to take a character that has been very stoic up to this point. You know, the male Norn is very sure of himself and risen to a commander, and to then be brought to that level of almost lost mortality. It was kind of fun to bring that back and what kind of haunts him after that. And then eventually just the general loathing for Balthazar and what he represents and has done in the world around him has been fun to inhabit that.
And plenty of accounts to back that up. Then again, Joko says a lot of things. He claims he killed Balthazar.
My favorite thing to bring to this role is... Oh man, I think for me, who's generally not a big brawny guy, I think it's fun to bring the thought that I could pretend to be, and some people might believe it. I see the player character at this point is now on this path of not just renowned heroism, but it has responsibility. So it's been great to ride him to that point where he's now at the super front line of these cataclysmic events, do or die situations as to where it can go. Oh man, I can't even begin to fathom. Like, the scope is already so intense.
Okay, everyone, listen up. If you're human, stay behind the bramble walls. Your role is support only.
I would like to see this hardened, burly warrior have to make sacrifices that affect him in a way that normally a Norn, who's a very masculine character, cannot hide the emotions that brim beneath. I think that'd be a fun exploration. And for me, it's for some reason, it's very impactful to watch the armored exterior of a hardened mercenary or warrior crack. You know, it has almost more impact at that point, you know, to break that masculine shell. So I would like to see that explored more, definitely. If I could give my character any advice, I'd say don't forget where you came from. Don't forget hard drinking in Holbrook, because I know you've been on the road a lot. You're not giving yourself time to relax, unwind, and get in a fist fight just for the hell of it. Because I think that's the Norn way. And for me, I would like to see some of that classic Norn kind of Norse influence, you know, come on, hit me because it feels good, kind of a scenario come back in. But maybe that's just me.
Okay. Well, how down to do?
That might be one of my favorite interviews. I love that. He's
got
absolutely
such
hilarious.
a good sense of humor and energy
Yes.
about him. Yeah.
And just shoots up like 8 octaves there at the end. So, well, thank you both for giving me a little bit of your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you all for sticking around with us for a couple of hours. McLean, welcome to time. Welcome to town. Don't look at your watch while I'm talking. Because
it's good to finally be
suddenly
here
time.
after all this time. I've made it to time.
Yes, thank you for our welcome to our time zone.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you two introduce yourselves and talk about what you've been working on here the past year?
Sure. So my name is McLean Deemer, and I am the composer and musical director for ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2. And I work on music, lots and lots of music.
So much.
Never-ending train, just barreling down the track.
Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Isaacson. I actually was the audio intern for the past 10 months, but as of a couple hours ago, I'm now an associate sound designer. Yay.
Congratulations!
Thanks. Yeah, it's exciting. It kind of definitely feels pretty surreal. I'm happy.
You look like you feel a tiny bit shell-shocked.
Yeah,
But congrats. You absolutely deserve this.
Thank you.
I am glad to have you on board. So, all right, well, why don't we talk a little bit about what you've been focused on the past year, because you've had a lot going on, not just this.
Yeah, definitely. What have I been working on? I've had a lot more kind of responsibility on the living world maps and stuff than I assumed I would as an intern coming in. But I've done a lot of the ambience design, different props and things like that. I've helped out in the Foley room for a variety of things. Should I go into detail about stuff?
Go for it. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. One thing that took me a while, but was also was really rewarding when it worked out, was the turret system in episode 3. It was kind of a thing that the audio team discovered like fairly later on into production because it's a little hidden in there. And we were like, oh boy, look at all these turrets, look at all these effects. Okay. And so I kind of just did all of that, and I got a lot of really good feedback from the team and kind of reworked things and that sort of thing. And I got some good feedback from the players, so it was really cool.
Yeah, that's incredibly gratifying. Again, that's something that we've been talking about in here, is that player feedback, hearing, okay, we've got this thing on live, we've been working on it for months. In some cases, we've been working on it for over a year. Now it's on live. Players have gotten their hands on it, and we've gotten to hear what they think, and they love it. Thank God.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, no, I for sure check Reddit and stuff. Like, that's real.
That feels amazing.
I know.
How about you, McLean? What have been some of your highlights? What have been some of your favorite things to work on over the past year?
Well, there's 2 big ones I can think of that were also pretty big hits with the fans. So one of which was the quasi remix, reimagining of Fear Not This Night for the episode 3 teaser.
We were all thinking it.
Yeah. So that was something that was kind of long in gestation. That was an idea that was kind of a collaboration between marketing and the cinematics team. They said, what if we did kind of a spookier version of the song? And they came to me and said, what do you think? Of course I was like, sure, let's try it. And they said they wanted to do it with a male voice instead of a female voice, as on the original with Ozia. And as soon as they said that, I was like, I'm going to end up singing this. I knew it. Because, just from this perspective of like time and budget reasons and stuff, I was like, well, I know I can sing. I'm a man with a voice that can sing. And so if I'm going to be writing it, I might as well just try. And so it took there was a lot of like jumping around, like what key works best for me, because the melody actually has it goes very low before it gets really high.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
It's kind of all over the place. Yeah. And just the physics of the way voices work, it can be tricky to, you're like, oh, this, try like singing the national anthem. Like you got to pick what note you start on very carefully. And so this is kind of the same idea in that there's a huge jump kind of towards the end. So I did some experimenting. The trailer came out, and I didn't feel great about that version. It was like good enough, and we had to get it out. But then, the request came in of like, there has to be a longer version of this. And so it gave me a chance to...
we knew it was coming.
Yeah. So it gave me a chance to... that's okay. It gave me a chance to fix the mistakes. Usually when you put stuff out there in the world, all you see is what was wrong with it.
Well, sure.
And you never get a chance to go back. And so this was a chance to go back and revisit it. And we had some on the trailer too, but I guess on the final version there was some more contributions from Caitlin.
Hey.
There's sort of an ethereal voice floating over the top of it that I think just gives it like this. It turned it from something that was pretty good, where all I could do was focus on my own voice and how much I hate hearing the sound of my own voice, to something that I thought was really special. And the final product I think came out great. And it was like the day it came out, I'm a late riser, so I woke up and I'm like, roll over and grab my phone, check Twitter, and it's like 10 billion notifications. I'm like, oh my god, today it must have come out today.
Sorry about that again.
Yeah. So that was cool. That
was amazing.
Yeah, thanks. And then the other big thing was some sort of indirectly related to me was I was happy to bring back another fan favorite composer into the family, Lena Rain.
Mm-hmm.
She left ArenaNet maybe 2 years ago at this point. Left as a designer.
Right.
She went and did something else, and then she came back to Seattle around the end of last year, and she'd reached out and said, "Hey, I'm back and I'm trying to really kickstart this composing thing. If you I loved working with you. Ever want to work together again?" I said, "That's funny you should mention that because Guild Wars is a very large game, and I'm just one person, and there's been other people that have contributed over the years. And when Lena was here, it was so great having her here because she was so deeply involved in the content and could write music for it and understood it on a level that I couldn't because she was the one that created it. So when she left, I was like, oh my god, I'm alone. I'm alone again.
I'm scared.
Yeah, and having her back was amazing, and I think it was something we kept secret for a very long time. She's like, when can we tell people? When can we tell people? I'm like, I don't know. But to have her back was really great. So those are two kind of highlights of musically for the last year for me.
Yeah, it feels really good having Lena back as part of our family.
Yeah.
And if you all wanted a couple of faces to go with the new version of Fear Not This Night, here they are. So that was awesome work, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was something when we first put that trailer out, and honestly, when we first heard the trailer behind the scenes before it was even public, we were all looking at each other going, they're going to want the full version.
Mm-hmm.
We should warn him.
Yeah.
We should probably let him know that they're going to be screaming for this.
Yeah. Well, it's, I was really worried about doing an actual full version because the lyrics, there's a lot of words in that song. And
yes,
at the tempo, the tempo that the trailer was at, it would be like this 12-minute epic, just constant, like, oh, here's the next verse. But fortunately, the first verse of that song, the lyrics are pretty spooky. Like, if you read them, they're very dark. And the arc of the song is it starts off dark, and then it's like hope and all this stuff, and sunrise and all that kind of business. But the first verse is all very dark lyrics. And then there was that one change that Tom Abernathy suggested, which was "Who needs the light" instead of
that was creepy.
Whatever the original line was, I can't remember. But that one thing was the sort of whole thing that it pivots on, and it makes that first verse very, very dark, which was fun to sing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
And adding on Caitlin's vocals
yes,
there on the
very
full
key.
version.
And Caitlin also
beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Caitlin and Chris Burgess, who's part of the audio team as well, he did the final mixing, and I think his voice might be in there a little bit too. It was on the trailer version.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he put it in the full version too. Maybe.
Yeah, I think when we did the trailer, Caitlin was out sick.
I was.
And I wanted her voice on it, so Chris ended up doing a kind of falsetto thing. And then when we got a chance to do the long one, when we got to do the long one, Caitlin was back. But Chris also did the final mix, and he's the one that really put the finishing touches on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was a collaborative effort for sure.
Oh man, I did not know that about Chris. I figured he just saved it all for the Jugman version. And
no, he's got a great ear and better than mine.
Does.
Yeah, better than mine for mixing.
I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, thank you for contributing to the final one. It really did add a lot to it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. It's I'm super happy that I've been able to sing here. I did a lot of singing in LA before I moved here, and so it's nice to keep going. Yeah. I was mostly professional singing and freelance variety of music and audio stuff for a couple years. Oh, keep going. I
didn't know this, so this is news to me. Tell me more.
Yeah.
We're just now meeting you on this show, so.
Hey, yeah, so what did I do? I went to USC for music, mostly voice and composition, and took some classes in sound design and things like that, and I chose USC because it has a really good games program, so go USC, free publicity. All right, they don't need it, they're fine. So once I graduated, I sang at a whole bunch of churches, which is an interesting thing to do as a Jewish person. I probably wouldn't have thought that would be my future as a child, but it is what it is. And different choirs and things like that.
It's like my favorite part of the whole show right here.
Yeah, talking about singing with Caitlin. But yeah, no, I've been taking lessons since I was a kid and have been in choir since I was 9, and it's kind of like the most sort of like consistent thing in my life for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
And the hope, at least for me, is that we get more opportunities for her to sing on things. It's nice to have a new voice as part of the pool. Yeah, so we're going to try to make that happen.
Super down.
Well, I'm like locking eyes with your boss going, huh? Awesome. Well, what are you guys, without giving too much spoilers, what are you guys looking forward to?
Oh boy. Without too many spoilers.
Not too many. I mean, looking forward to the players.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the players' reactions. I feel like some of the stuff we're working on for the future is really, really fun. And it's fun when, as a person working on the game, and you have to kind of like play the content over and over, and at least as a sound person, you're kind of sitting there like, how did that sound? And you like watch the same thing over and over to make sure it's kind of good. And I'm still enjoying it. So I think that's a really good sign for players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess they mentioned that season 5 is happening.
Yes.
So
that's the second time somebody's been like, "Can we say that?" Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
The video's
it's like
out.
you start
it's fun.
singing, you go, "Okay, wait, should I be?" So season 5 is coming, and just this past week, I have been working on new music for the end of season 4, trying to musically set up season 5. And so a big goal of mine is to do something that I just because of time constraints, I haven't had as much time to put this level of thought into what melodies, what motifs are going to represent what, and how they can develop, and there's been a lot of like laying the tracks before the train just to get stuff finished. But now I've got a little bit of breathing room, and what I really wanted to do was have longer melodies rather than just a couple notes that represent characters and stuff, and things that can be broken apart and expanded. And there's some really cool stuff coming up for the end of the season that's going to set up season 5 musically, and for all the kind of musical detectives out there, which I know there are. Hopefully there's some breadcrumbs that they can follow.
All right, now you guys have something to look for. Awesome. Well, Caitlin, we've had you for a year now?
Just about 10
Just
months.
about a year?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, well, congratulations on year 1.
Thank you.
And here's to another great one with you. Thank you for being a part of our team, and congratulations again.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and congratulations to both of you on another awesome year of Guild Wars 2.
Thank you.
And here's to many, many more.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. You guys stick around. We will be back in just a couple minutes.
Hi, my name is Camille Meese, but you may know me as Ren the Yordle. I'm a full-time freelance artist that streams on Twitch and also creative partner for Guild Wars 2. 6 years ago, I ventured into this beautiful world and have since been a one-trick Asura engineer, striving to be a great DPS and even better floor tank for my raid group. I've traveled the world to visit all of you amazing people who have become my peers, my mentors, my best friends, and even found my love. I will cherish these years of in-game events, story updates, and forever be thankful to all of you who have made a difference in my life. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around the coming years, friends.
Hey guys, this is Joey from the French community Guild Wars 2 shop. So, 6 years already. Ready? This is going so fast. Zidane, Scarlet, Mordermuff, Balthazar, Joko. What's next? I'm so excited to discover this. I'd like to thank ArenaNet for making this game, but also all the players and the community to be so amazing through the years, in-game or outside, like at the festival we're organizing every year. See you all in Tyria!
Hi there, I'm Join Jess, a partner Twitch variety streamer. I've been playing Guild Wars 2 for the past 5 years, and I love enjoying this charming game and its wonderful community. From the Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire expansions, to Living World seasons that set our hearts on fire like Wareen, to updates to existing game modes like PvP and World vs. World, to new players joining us and old Franz returning to the game, there's been a lot to praise Joko over the years. So, please join us in celebrating the 6th Guild Wars 2 anniversary.
Oh, hi there. I'm Kroof from Kroof Gaming, and congratulations Guild Wars 2 for reaching 6 years. Time flies so fast. Now, my favorite moments from Guild Wars 2 would probably be the expansion launches for Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, specifically Path of Fire because I skipped school and played and recorded. And I'm not condoning skipping school, but if you happen to be sick, I won't tell anyone. Now go out and save the world, and save Tyria.
Hey guys, how's it going? Choxy here. I just wanted to say congrats to ArenaNet for pulling its 6th year with Guild Wars 2. The community itself is just amazing because you can find just about anything from talented artists, fashion enthusiasts, and just about anything in between. I really do cherish each moment I've had in this game, especially with all the people I've met from all over the world enjoying the same thing. But with that said, I just can't wait to see what's to come for the future of the game, and I wish everyone at ArenaNet a happy 6th anniversary.
Bring that down under pray for this is too far. 139 and 131.
The name is Lex Lang, and I play the character Char Male, who's the playable character. Well, it's always exciting to voice a non-human character, mainly because you get to do lots of vocalizations that are more animalistic, and the body size is a lot different in, when you're playing an animal versus a human. And so you can adapt your performance based on, those qualities. And it's always very exciting, for me anyway, to play creatures and, demons and big characters, wolf people, that kind of stuff.
Canuck, get back to work. We can handle this.
I like the stability that he brings when he's present. There's a certain strength that Char-Male has. Also a sense of knowing that he has when it comes to, maybe what to do next. I like to bring that sense of myself into that character as well. Because every once in a while, I feel like I know what I'm doing or I know what to do next. It's very rare. But yeah, that's a fun trait to bring. He's constantly going up against bigger and more capable opponents. And so, he went from starting where it was killing a dragon, and then it was killing, a god and undead, and now, he's going through all these different challenges. And so it's pretty cool to see that character evolve and keep on taking the steps in power up and up each time.
Lead the Omicron and Ghost Legions to the front lines. The Scarabs will be thickest there.
If I could give the Char-Male any advice, it would be forge ahead and keep going, even though you feel like quitting sometimes. He just keeps on having to face these insurmountable tasks and opponents, and somehow he continues to get through it. And, I would say that would be my advice, is even though you want to just throw in the towel, keep going, because that end result that you're looking for is there. Follow your dream, Char-Male. Just follow it. Keep going.
I will, Bram. For you and for Timey.
The acting challenges are just that, whereas opposed to a character that's like a stationary character, saloon owner or whatever it may be, a city dweller or whatever, their role is to be plot points sort of throughout the story, whereas a playable character is constantly making these different choices, and there's a variety of different choices in the performances as well that will take the story down different paths depending upon which adventure you go on.
Unfortunately, Farron's right. Joko's declared war, and we have to meet him head on.
Where do you see your character's role and his voice heading in the future? Where would you like it to go?
Well, you will have to play the game to see the answer to that. I already know where it's going, and it's awesome. It's awesome. You're going to love it. You people at home are going to love it. Everyone's going to love it. It's awesome. This I can't say. I already had to sign a thing to say I can't say, but it's off the charts cool. Off the charts cool. Yeah.
Guild Wars 2. Char-Male, baby.
Commander, there's something I have to tell you. I went into the mists after my sword, but I found something else.
Refugees are pouring in from Alona.
If he kills an Elder Dragon, Tyria will never recover.
They cannot stand in the glory of Balthazar's light.
I will right this wrong.
I just can't believe one of the gods gave up on us.
They cannot escape my wrath. When I am done, I will be the only god.
All right, welcome back to the Guild Wars 2 6th anniversary live stream. We're going to chat with one final round of Guild Wars 2 developers. Why don't you all go down the line, talk about who you are and what you've been working on here over the past 12 months. Wow.
My name's Alina Chadwick. I'm a content programmer for Living World. I worked on the first instance for episode 3. And a whole lot of things in the background.
My name's Clayton Kisko. I'm a game designer here at ArenaNet. I was the team lead for episode 2, so I've been working on Living World content.
And I am Lindsay Murdoch. I'm the lead designer on Living World. I work on all the episodes.
Do all the things.
I do all the things. I try poorly.
You do great. So, well, let's do, just like we have with some of the other devs, let's just talk about some of our highlights and what your favorite things have been over the past 12 months. There's a whole lot to choose from. And whoever you guys can fight it out over who wants to go first.
I guess I started talking, so I guess I just volunteered myself.
Go for it. Got this.
Okay, so in the first instance of episode 3, you rescue... Oh dear, I'm terrible with names. Your robot friend.
Blish.
Thank you. Sorry,
You
Blish.
rescue Blish?
You rescue Blish from being turned off, and it's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And...
Blish is adorable.
Blish is adorable.
Yeah.
I love him.
And there's that scream, and we got a custom animation specifically for Blish's scream.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that.
Oh, did we? That was a custom animation?
Custom animation.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Did you do the animation? Or?
Oh, no.
Okay. I was about to be so impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, you can do everything.
No.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly
Allie
cool.
is a magic person, just to be clear.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
Wouldn't terribly surprise me.
Right?
But yeah,
Oh
I
my
guess we
gosh.
didn't have super emotional golem anims, did we?
No, not really.
It makes sense. So, oh wow, I had no idea. I mean, I noticed the animation, I picked up on it, but it hadn't been, like, I didn't know to register the absence of that animation in every golem I've ever seen in the game in the past years. So that's wild.
Yeah, we've actually been getting a lot of custom animations for Living World this season.
Really?
Yeah, both for cinematics and for just in-game moments to try to elevate that quality and get some more emotion out of our characters. So it's been pretty great.
I don't want to put you too on the spot, but can you think of more as examples? If you can't, that's fine.
All the
because I just
examples
gave
I'm
you
going to
the
be able to
question.
think of are in content that we haven't shipped or talked about
Oh,
yet, because
no.
that's what I'm working on.
It's okay.
I work like so many months in advance.
Right?
It's hard to like
Yeah.
rewind my brain, be like,
Yeah.
okay, all people have seen is up to episode 3.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier while we were breaking for the videos that we were showing about that internal panic of trying to remember, is that released or not?
Yeah. That's scary.
That's okay. That's super interesting though, and I'm glad to hear that we have these custom animations coming out, and how, because we talked earlier a couple segments back about how those little things add so much to the game, and it makes the world feel more alive.
Yeah.
So we'll keep rewinding your brain.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing so far has been the fans' reactions to episode 3's ending, if that's a spoiler. Are you
no,
gonna put the,
no,
we have to put the spoiler
no.
thing on? There you go. Thanks. Just Joko getting eaten out of nowhere.
Right?
A la Deep Blue Sea. Just
That's custom. Those were all custom animations.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Totally.
Because
I mean,
Yeah,
that whole
she doesn't-
cinematic, right?
Yes.
Like, we did mocap for Joko.
That's right, yeah.
All of that was super custom. Orion's animations coming out of the cinematic, all that's
Ugh.
super custom. So
That's right. I will not forget the first time I saw that. When he's just building to his crescendo, and she just comes out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so
that was
good.
incredible.
I was reading the Twitch stream and people were saying the exact same reaction. Like, I just legitimately gasped in real life
Yes.
out loud when that happened.
When we were talking in the meetings trying to figure out how to play that moment, there was a lot of sort of contention and back and forth of like exactly how to get the drama that we wanted. And I think the way I put it is, what if she just punches him straight out of the cinematic?
And that
just ends it. Takes care of it in the
thump.
most dragony way she can.
That's good.
Problem solved.
That thump when she hits, like, kudos to the audio team.
Yeah.
Because that was, like, visually, it was really shocking, but the audio was unbelievable too. It all worked so beautifully.
Yeah. Somebody asked what Joko tastes like. Do you
Regret.
have any ideas of what he might taste like?
Dusty.
Yeah.
Very dusty.
Old.
Some tar?
Acrid, probably.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Tastes like burning.
Bitter.
Tastes like burning.
Man, you guys haven't had lunch yet.
Oh,
no.
we should be
There's
talking about
so
eating.
much pizza in the lunchroom.
Yeah,
now.
you're under
I was
filled.
like, should I get you guys some pizza? I was like, there's probably going to be leftovers. It's okay. We'll get something at some point. Yeah, that was absolutely one of the best surprises. Because I was not spoiled the first time I played it. I played it before release, just checking it out. So I generally try not to come on Guild Chat not knowing what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I like to at least know what the content is. So I had played through it, and I remember I was at my desk and just like, whoa, well, that definitely just happened.
Yeah.
One leading up to it was the episode 3 trailer. Wait, was that the episode 2 trailer? Episode 2. Yes.
Night.
That again, I'm trying to rewind my brain going, I don't know, the one with Fear Not This Night in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really teased out Joko. You first hear his voice over comm in episode 1. We didn't let you see him yet. And then you get a glimpse of him for the first time in episode 2.
Yeah.
And then 3 is when he has his big moment, of course.
Yeah.
So
I want to ask, and probably this is mostly a question for you, Lindsay, because you've been on the game for so long. How did we get Joko to where he is? Because he basically was, in Guild Wars 1, he was a huge joke.
he was a joke. Yeah.
And the thing that I was always thinking about when we got to Guild Wars 2, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to, I would love to see like some slapstick between him and the Mad King. And I'm so much happier now. Like this, 6 years ago, I never would have seen this coming, but I love it. Like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Internally.
Well, yeah. I was nervous for season 4 to be taking on Joko because he was such a joke in Guild Wars 1. And let me just say really quick that I think the best cinematic we ever made for Guild Wars 1 was the cinematic at the end of Tarai's story where he kills Palawa Joko. And I think the best cinematic we've ever made for Guild Wars 2 is also Palawa Joko's death. So nice symmetry there. I was nervous about how we could really make a great villain out of him because he seems so one-dimensional. And that's largely why we decided to kill him off fairly quickly, to take care of him fairly quickly rather than build, multiple seasons out of him as a villain, since he is fairly one-note, right? He's just laughably evil.
Yeah.
Like, he was legitimately like freaking terrifying.
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. So once we kind of like nailed down arc for him, and our amazing narrative design team got their paws on him and started writing lines for him. They just elevated him so much that by the time we were in, getting close to our VO deadline for episode 3, everyone was saying, man, I kind of wish we hadn't decided to kill him off so fast. Like, we're enjoying this so much. We're enjoying writing for him. We're enjoying listening to his lines, you know?
Sick.
And man, his lines, the stuff that the statues spit out in the open world map.
Yes.
Oh man, amazing stuff.
So good.
And I actually was really fortunate to be invited into the writers' room while they were working on those lines, really developing them in table reads and that sort of powwow brainstorm, place where you're just spitting out, how about this, how about that, was some of the most fun I've ever had in my job.
The best meetings are with those narrative folk.
Oh,
like, it's
so
really
good.
fun.
It's really fun. And then when you get them like reading lines in character, hilarious.
Yeah.
Alex Kane does a great anything. Seriously? Alex Kane did a pretty great Joko in those meetings.
Get him back.
Although I really loved Samantha doing line reads for a character in episode 4 that I will not spoil, which was absolutely great because she just loves that guy. So yeah, those
later.
table reads can be real fun. We're going into table reads on Clayton's content soon here. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's yeah.
We just tackled him. I don't know. Like we decided we built out this arc. We were like, okay, we're gonna have him do these things in these episodes leading up to this big thing, and then we'll kill him in 3. Originally, in our original work on this season, we were actually gonna kill him in episode 2, but we wanted to stretch it out a little bit more. And then just our writers. They did too good of a job.
It's very true.
They really did.
I remember I passed by and I don't remember which story step I was on, but you walked in and like there's this guy's like sobbing by his dead wife's bedside, and Joko's like, it's like you don't even want to see your wife again. And I'm pondering how twisted this is, and it's like the worst kind of torture, and I'm going, wow, we kind of went all in here, didn't we? Look at that.
Yeah, he's a very twirly mustache, very evil,
Seriously.
but fun villain. And now he dead.
Yeah.
Now he dead.
Mischief managed.
What's that?
Mischief managed.
Yeah, right, yeah. Exactly.
Mischief managed. Great. Oreen's over there like writing it in the ground with her claw.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Problem solved.
Yeah, when she
she'll eat everything now. That's the solution.
Yeah, when she's like sitting there gnawing on him, and Timey comes in, and Timey's just like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
We were talking about VO earlier, and that was one of the sessions that I was fortunate enough to get to watch, and Timey or Debbie Derryberry giving these like Timey's gags and retching reactions were amazing, because they were even like down to that, like the nuance of how ill do you want her to be exactly? was like how hard we were working on getting this exactly right.
Yeah.
It was very fun to watch.
Good question too of her to be like, how ill are we talking here from a scale from 1 to 10?
Seriously,
and then I have full confidence, right? Like, she's amazing at what she does.
Yeah.
She'll be able to like hit anything you were to give her, I'm sure.
Yes, there was a whole like scale of retching.
Yeah.
Debbie's performances this this season as Timey
I was
have
like, wow, what did I
been
miss?
incredible. Yeah, this season Timey has been through a lot, and Debbie's performance has been really magical in selling that. Really emotional.
Yeah. So that's kind of, this season has been, that's a good highlight. It's just Joko's whole thing and Oreen coming out of nowhere, and I love knocking him right out of the frame. That was such a good call. So I actually want to back up, because you mentioned you worked on a lot of things behind the scenes. Are there things that you worked on that got into game that players would recognize, that are a recognizable change? Like Ben was talking about like QL changes.
So I'm trying to remember exactly when this went in, but at some point between episode 6 of season 3 and episode 1 of season 4, we added what what we internally call visibility channel tech.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically you have the ability to assign a channel to various characters in the world, and then turn on and off those various channels per player. Which
Yeah, Nick was talking about that.
and
Saying that it was much more difficult than he kind of anticipated at first, and there were some fun bugs in figuring that out.
Yeah,
but it was very worth it.
There's some rules you have to follow. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it can't attack you.
Yes.
You can change that. You can make it so. The problem is, just because you can't see them, that doesn't mean they can't see you. If they can't see you, they can't attack you. So when I implemented this, I'm like, okay, I'm implementing this. Technically, you can use this on hostile creatures. Don't do it. You don't want to do that.
Famous last words from a programmer.
Yes.
You tell such things to the designers, and the designers get all creative, and that's that.
The visibility channels have some restrictions to them, but it's allowed us to do so much more storytelling in the open world. It's a big reason why we're starting to actually see our friends in the open world maps interacting with us.
Really?
Yeah, on certain steps, because we can actually do, when you're on this step, see this scene, that kind of stuff, and have states changed that way. Yeah, and it just, I think it allows us to tell the story in a way that feels more integrated with the world. So.
I feel like we can't just, when you're on your own story and you want to, like, we have an instance where you want to talk to Bram in the open world, and we would love for Bram to follow you and talk or do everything, right? But we can't, because if someone else is also on the instance, right, and wants to come up and talk to Bram and start that all over again, we don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah,
we still don't really have them to move around,
Yeah.
but we can have a static Bram, and you can have this conversation in the open world with him now, and he can be invisible for people who are not on that step.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so if we need a character to come in and have a moment with you in the open world, we can do that now, thanks to Allie.
Yeah, player-specific visibility. Yeah, and that is actually an interesting limitation that's come up multiple times, where like designers will be like designing a scene. I'll be like, hold on, wait a second, you just had that character do something,
triggering an action,
like play an emote or something, and everybody is going to see that regardless of what part of the step they're on. It's tricky.
Yeah.
It sounds like it, but worth it.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
But like I said, Allie's a magic person. She just makes things work. So there's a lot of tricky things that we wouldn't be able to do without her. She just jumps in and suddenly it's happening.
Oh, man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Not actually awesome. Magic.
No, just
I
roll
don't
with
believe
it.
that.
Roll with it.
Yeah.
This is a thing that I'm completely willing to accept.
I have a cauldron under my desk.
Yes.
I seen it. It's real.
All right. Yes, we will. I will accept that. I will completely accept that. So, we've been talking about just some highlights over the past year, and one thing that we've talked about over and over is feedback from you, the player, and things that we've heard about the content that we've released and things that we've put in. What's been some of your favorite player feedback over the past year? What have been some of your favorite things that you've heard from players?
There's a lot. There's some that
so
we've already
much stuff.
covered.
And that
So I'm
can
trying to
be
think of-
that can be in person too.
Hold on. Now I gotta switch gears in my
There you
brain
go.
here. Hold on. Do you got anything? I gotta think.
I'm gonna while you guys are thinking, I'm gonna talk about one that just I got a kick out of when I was watching Clayton talk to players last week, because Clayton was like talking to a big circle of maybe like 6 or 8 players while we were at Gamescom, and one guy was like, "Okay, what's the easiest content to make in game?" And I think maybe the goal, right? And I saw the same look on Clayton's face that I see on Lindsay's now, because Lindsay's like thinking about this. She's like, "Huh, okay." And Clayton's immediately like the wheels start turning. He's like, okay." And it was 2 static NPCs having a scripted conversation, just like
emoting.
Yeah, it's just like throw some emotes on them and give them. And I was like, "Is there VO?" No.
Yep. No VO.
And there you go.
Just emote talk loop, and it looks like they're just having this random conversation in the background.
Exactly, and
simple.
And it was the answer, and it wasn't really. It's not necessarily like playable,
right?
But it was. I mean, watching, and Byron had a lot of similar conversations. they were asking Byron to explain what is your job? What exactly does it mean, what you do? And Byron said, okay, what I tell people is that I tell the game if things are a cat or if they are not a cat. and he went on to elaborate. He didn't just say that and then go home.
Oh, I wish you would have.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. When I was on Guild Wars 1, I used to just tell people that I write quests and I spawn monsters. Now trying to describe my job. No, my job is different now. I don't know how to describe my job now.
You make sure the people who are doing those things do it well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would imagine you're basically looking at all the other people now who are making monsters and quests, right?
I definitely, that is definitely a piece of it.
Yeah, right. No, that's not the,
I also kind of help people get set up with the stories that we're telling. Yeah. I'm also lore continuity in a bunch of ways.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But those questions and the answers that you and Byron gave opened the door for, okay, I kind of understand this, so now I can ask slightly deeper questions about what you do and how this gameplay works. And watching those conversations and that feedback, once you guys were giving players a better understanding of here's how my job works, and here's exactly what I do. What does game designer mean? I design games. What does that mean? Watching the players ask more and more intricate questions was an absolute thrill. That was one of the coolest things I've seen in a while.
Yeah. I've definitely done that even with players in game asking me what I do, and a lot of times they think when they hear designer they think art. Do you guys get that too? Yeah. They think art, and I don't actually. I went to school for art, but I don't actually do any art in my job. And so playing that almost 20 questions to narrow in for them understanding what we kind of do. Yeah. It's tricky explaining this. It's like the ideas behind the world.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking to players who play these games, specifically ours, but then you go home to holidays and talk to in-laws, and they're like, what do you do? You're like, oh, man, I don't even know where to start with this.
Trying to explain it to non-gamers.
Yeah, it's
I've given up.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yes. I don't know what I do. Neither do you. So let's just talk about something else.
But it is so cool to see the fans so interested, right? And it's always an amazing opportunity to educate them or share with them or kind of show them a little bit behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we get better feedback at that point. Because as soon as I started describing those easy pieces of content, we had a couple of those people ask those questions, the fans ask those questions, started to brainstorm ideas. And we're like, oh, and you could do this. And I was like, yeah, exactly. You get it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And that really opened up, it was a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, that was enormously exciting. I loved that.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, we are running a tiny bit short on time. We have about 5 minutes left. So we can talk a little bit more about player feedback and what some of your favorite responses have been and what some of your favorite content is that you've worked on over the past year.
Yeah. You
can do years too if there's something that super stands out. Because you guys are wrapping up this anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, since I work on every Living World episode from start to finish, they're all kind of like my special children, right? I love each of them for their own things. I almost feel like every time we're shipping an episode, it's my favorite episode yet. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, this is my favorite episode yet. I'm feeling that way about the next one, but then I'm like, oh, but wait, that next one. Oh, but wait, the next, oh, but wait, the other stuff coming up, It's so easy to get focused on what's next,
You know what I'm super looking forward to that I can say now since we released the video is Sun's Refuge.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good that we can actually say hey, this thing is coming?
Yeah.
It's such a nice weight off your shoulders when something gets announced. Oh God, okay, that's one less thing I got to stress about accidentally saying or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I love Sun's Refuge. I said it in the video. It's one of my favorite things that we've done. When we originally were working on home instances and talking about what we wanted to do with home instances, we talked a lot about it being a content hub. We didn't really get to realize that dream largely because of time. And so when when we decided to make this little instance out of Sun's Refuge, that was kind of the direction that I gave to the designer who was working on it, is think about it as a place that you come to and you get to learn more about the area, you get a lot of lore, you get a lot of NPC interaction, but think of it as also a jumping off point for content. We don't have quest hubs in our game, but this is pretty close. And getting to sort of build out that space through content, through these interesting ways of delivering stories is really exciting to me. It really, to me, is sort of home instances realized.
Oh,
I'm really excited about it.
I'm
I know
looking
neither of you worked on it.
Sorry, I'm
of
still
did.
very excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you help out with tech, magic person?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
There's a lot of tech that we developed for guild halls.
Yeah.
For visibility once again.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's a space that you can build out based on what content you've done. It really takes advantage of the visibility changes that
thank you.
Allie worked on.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and visibility of props in the map and morphing the map so it looks different and that sort of stuff. I get so excited when people use that tech.
I'm sure, because it sounds like there was a lot of work that went into it.
Oh yeah, that was several months.
It keeps
It
getting
wasn't just
better
me,
too.
though.
We keep developing it a little bit more and a little bit more, and like I said, it's just allowed us to do a lot more storytelling in the open world. I think.
So we'll continue seeing it realized in the game.
Absolutely.
Aw. Well, how about you, Clayton? What are you
Most excited about?
most excited about?
Stuff I can't talk about, Ruby.
What are I know this is
Stuff I can't talk about.
What are some of your what are some of your favorite things from the past year? As badly as I want you to talk
Well, you
about things
joined
coming.
Living World with this season,
Yes,
right?
I
With
did.
episode 2.
With episode 2. And
Partially through development too.
And I want to I don't want to be like, well, that one is. It kind of is though. Like episode 2, that trailer is probably the highlight, just of because it immediately encapsulated what we were doing from everybody working on it, and it got everybody excited. And so I had nothing to do with that trailer, but I was super proud of that trailer. And so that was the thing that I was, but I feel like that's selfish or something because that was the episode I worked on. But that is the thing that I think I
You
look back
had
to.
everything to do with that trailer because you worked on the content that was in the trailer.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Da-da-da-da.
But that I think that was it was just so well done. I know we've talked about McLean's the song he used and all that stuff, but it really is just so good. And yeah, it was a great piece.
Yeah, and the song really did make an enormous part of the trailer, but the whole tonal shift of that trailer really reflected what was going on in the content, because it was it was like, hey, we're going on a fun caper, woohoo! Oh, everything is bad.
And I had fans at Gamescom call out that structure of very Ocean's 11.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, they were like, that was so cool. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it. That's great. And the cinematics team going in there and getting those shots of those mummies behind that sewage waterfall
was so
almost
creepy.
thing. It was really creepy. So I keep going back to that in my mind. But I was trying to avoid it. But there you go, you got it from me.
But that's literally why you're here.
Yeah.
So just enjoy it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, we really did talk about that one as okay, it starts out as the heist movie, and then it switches, and you realize you're in Contagion. So
This is not. Simply, it's not okay. It's
Yeah.
not great. All right. Well, let's call it good and let you guys get to work. Thank you all, and congratulations so much on another year of Guild Wars 2. Happy 6th anniversary to all of us. I know. Here's to many, many, many more years. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys coming on to chat about the last year. We got Path of Fire out the door. We got Season 4 underway. We talked this morning about Season 5 for the first time, and so I know I can't decide if that's terror or excitement or half and half. I feel like it's probably both. Yes. But we have so many exciting things coming for you guys, and we really appreciate the past 6 years with all of you spending time with us in Tyria. Here's to 6 more, and thank you for continuing this journey with us, because all of you, the players, are why we are here. This is why we do it. And we appreciate you talking to us and spending your time with us. So, all right. I will let you guys get back to work. All of you stick around, because the folks over at Loot Crate are going to be doing a Guild Wars 2 live stream. So hang around, and we're going to be hosting them here on this channel. So we will see you right here. Thanks, everybody. Happy anniversary. Congratulations again. Woo.